we just go out and see what we can see. We rarely stick to what we're going to do. We go up, and if you've ever been in canyon country, it is just amazing because it may be 5 by 5 miles on paper, but it's so intricate. You could spend a lifetime exploring a canyon. So just poke around and see like an 800-year-old structure or a 900-year-old petroglyph panel. So we have a basic plan of what we're going to do, but we rarely stick to it.
Let's start the podcast.
Sure.
Okay. You'll hear the music at some point on the actual recording. Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek, brought to you by Topo Athletic. I am your co-host, Zach Badger Davis. Sitting to my 12 o'clock is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
We already did some crowd work, but I've got more for you because I really am very curious about this one. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus with this question here.
Jersey.
But the HEB butter tortillas, yay or nay? Okay. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but apparently it's not a unanimous... One person here thinks they're not good. Yeah. It's the only reason my wife is allowing me to leave the house so I can come back with the butter tortillas. So I'm glad that the crowd corroborated the deliciousness. Also, this is a very selfish question, but what's the best barbecue in the area? I've heard 5 answers and they're all different places. Make-A-Waves, Smitty's. Terry Black's, My House. Is that a restaurant or is that your house? Okay, we'll be back there tonight. Lockhart. La Barbecue. Franklin's is the only place that I've recognized out of all of those. Okay. Well, we've got to work cut out
You
for us
wrote that
tomorrow.
down, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Sounds like religious debate.
Yeah. And a big thank you to Gossamer Gear and Hyperlate. I'm just kidding. For making this live show happen. We've been in the works cooking this one up for the last couple years. And a huge thank you to Captain Quacks for making this happen too. We literally outreached probably 40 different venues, and this was the space that was the most accommodating for us. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. A few reminders before we get to today's interview is if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I didn't know that there was this awesome live podcast happening. First of all, you definitely did, because if you're listening to Backpacker Radio, we've been shouting this out for months. But if you don't want to miss future live podcast call-outs, be sure to subscribe to the Trek's newsletter, link in the show notes. We also do gear giveaways. It's where you get our top content and everything else. By the time this one comes out, we are less than a week, I think, from Trail Days.
Mm-hmm. It's the week of. This is the Monday of.
Yeah. Are you excited?
And Trail Days is Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I get PTO. I'm always excited when I'm on PTO.
Good.
I had 3 people on my team today message me and ask how my week's going. I was like, my week is fantastic. I'm not there.
So beyond the air guitar competition, what events are you most keen toward?
I'm trying to get back to the realm of the real. I told you I wanted butter sandcastles where people make
What does realm of the real mean?
It means like something that can feasibly be done. Like I don't know how feasibly butter sculptures that we can judge can happen. Maybe I'm just doubting the creativity of the participants. But other ideas, dunk tank, there's a lot of things to go around for that to make that happen. So not in the realm of the real. Jello wrestling, not in the realm of the real. Spaghetti eating contest, possible. So I've got all these ideas and I've got to hone them into things that are actually doable.
Yeah. Well, a preemptive apology to Damascus's plumbing
Yeah.
for the spaghetti eating contest.
I will say my best idea I've ever had that ended up not executing well was we were going to do bobbing for hot dogs. And then we learned that hot dogs sink. And then we had a whole night of trying different ways of boiling and cooking hot dogs to see if anything would make them float. Didn't. So that's not happening.
We'll figure it out. That's
Yeah.
the moral of the story. So yeah, if you're
Yeah.
heading to Trail Days this week, hit us up at the Trex booth. The actual location will be in the show notes. We don't know where it is currently, but it'll be somewhere great, I'm sure. And last but not least, if you are taking on a long-distance trek this year, apply to be on the baddest team in the backcountry, apply to be a trek blogger. Link in the show notes. Okay, no more beating around the bush. Let's get to our interview. How many of you knew who our guest was going to be today? I know we've been pulling back the hints one by one. Anyone here? Okay. How many of you...
I saw a hand. Did you put your hand up? Oh, sorry.
Scratching an itch? Well, I'm very excited to introduce today's guest because he is an absolute legend in the world of backpacking in the outdoors. It is Paul Magnani. Can I say it like that? Is that cultural appropriation? AKA PMags.
Real Italians probably won't like that, but I'm a fake one, so it's fine.
Okay.
You're not Italian?
Well, of Italian descent, but
Okay. I mean, we've been telling people you are, and with that last
my real
name,
friends from Italy would call me a third-generation Xerox copy.
I fit that bill too.
There you go.
So cool.
PMags is a Triple Crown thru-hiker with decades of experience exploring trails across the country, from the Triple Crown trails to countless off-the-beaten-path adventures. Mags has built a life in the outdoors, whether hiking, backpacking, ski touring, or paddling. He's a former co-host of The Trail Show, an advocate for trails through his work with the CDTC, and a longtime contributor to the hiking community with his popular blog. PMags, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
How did you get into backpacking? What's the origin story for you?
Wow, that's So I went on my first backpacking trip in 1996 because I'm increasingly getting old, and my buddy Tim said, "Hey, we should go backpacking." I said, "Sure, we'll go." So I was in the Army, so I know what I'm doing, and foolishly I believed him. And he lost the map, and we ended up doing in the White Mountains, so we're familiar with that. A lot of steep hiking trails, not exactly the easiest hiking. And we ended up doing 12 miles in a day, which for your first backpacking trip, that's a lot. We got lost. We wound up in the exact same place where we started, collapsed in the tent. I had like a Rambo survival knife, all canned goods, but I loved it. And that year I went on my own, and Tim wanted to see his girlfriend rather than me for some reason, so I started going solo. Then I did the long trail the following year, and to see if I liked doing this thing, then I did the Appalachian Trail. I said, this is great. I should move to Colorado, because I've never been. They have mountains, and the rest is history. And that's been 20 plus years now of the outdoors and lots of fun.
I've listened to you on the Trail Show for many hours. I've spent many hours on your website in preparation for this. I don't think I picked up that you were in the Army.
No, my buddy Tim was.
Oh, you're Tim, but okay.
Yeah, I've known. So he's one of my best friends. Known him since Catholic school, and so my wife very kiddingly said she's gonna make a bingo card for anyone out there. So Catholic school's on it, by the way, because that's part of the origin story. But in any case, I've known him for a long time, so we should go backpacking. So he was in the Army, but I was not.
Okay, misheard you. My apologies. Have you done any backpacking in Texas?
Yes, a fair amount. I've been to Big Bend 3 times. Awesome, awesome, awesome place. We were there 2 weeks. We spent 13 days in a tent straight. Whether in Waco, we went to Waco Tanks as well, which is also very awesome. If you ever get a chance, Waco Tanks is a gem. And we went to one of the mesas out in Big Bend. And that was our second time going there. So this is 3 backpacking trips in Texas over the years.
When you say you spent 13 days in a tent, for some reason, the way you said it made me think you didn't travel to different places in between. The tent was static, and you just spent 13 days there?
Car camping or backpacking.
Got it, okay.
So we traveled to other places, like from Waco Tanks to Big Bend to Davidson Mountains.
Okay.
11 days in Big Bend and 2 days in Waco Tanks and 1 day in Davidson Mountains.
It'd be a really good spot you found if you could stay for 13 days.
Yeah, Big Bend's big, but it's not that big.
Speaking of big, I forget how large the state of Texas is. On the lift in the ride to our Airbnb this morning, I was talking to the Uber driver about like places I knew in Texas about the outdoors, and I name dropped Big Bend, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty far from here. It's like 4 hours, and he just started laughing. He's like, let's try 10 hours.
It was 14 hours to go from Moab to Big Bend. Moab's where I'm from, so it was a haul.
Yeah, big state you guys got here. Nice work.
And I'm from Rhode Island originally, so it's like the other end of the spectrum. And there's my favorite T-shirt I have. It says, "Don't mess with Rhode Island." It's in a tiny little spot in the Texas flag. So
I like
that's
that.
really funny for me.
Why didn't you wear that today?
I should have. I didn't think of it till just now.
It's okay. I forgive you.
How many other people in the backpacking world have you met from Rhode Island? You're the first for me.
So this one's a cheat. Skarka grew up in Seekonk, Mass. His mother grew up in my hometown, apparently.
Okay. So that's a good fun fact.
Yeah.
And you guys all just migrate over to Boulder.
Yes.
That's where
Wait,
the
so
road from Rhode Island goes to Boulder, Colorado.
I was going to say the answer to how many people backpack from Rhode Island is Skirka's mom.
Yeah, apparently.
Good.
So, by Western standards, Seekonk is like a hops. That's nothing. By Northeast standards, that's like a road trip. Pack a lunch. Make sure you book a hotel because it's at least half an hour.
Right. Well, we've got people driving here and back from 3.5 hours today. Learn that. That's wild.
So the one thing I know about the ethos from people out east, especially in the New England area. I don't know. I guess Rhode Island's more mid-Atlantic. What's the region?
Rhode Island's very much, it's New England.
Okay.
Yeah, right next to Mass and Connecticut.
Okay. I know it's more of like a type A mentality, bag and peaks, like you're always working on a list or something like that. You don't strike me as that sort of an individual. You strike me more as a guy that just likes to be outdoors, generally speaking. Is that something that you had to shed? You never had that in you, or?
Well, my wife would still think I'm a Northeast personality, but that's another story. But yeah, I'm not much of a list person. I just like being out. I guess if I keep a list, it's how much time do I get to spend outdoors, whether it's backpacking, car camping, pack rafting, ski touring. We don't keep track of the mileage. We kept track how many nights we're out last year. We got to spend 93 bag nights out. Oh. And that was considering both work full time and have other things going on. We're probably proud of that statistic more than any other thing, how we're able to incorporate the outdoors into, in many ways, we're a boring middle-aged, middle-class couple. We have a mortgage, we hold down full-time jobs, but the outdoors is still a focus for us. And everything we do is how can we get outdoors more? And that's how it got brought together, too. So I guess I took that type A Northeast personality and applied it to how can I maximize my outdoor time?
Yeah.
You said bag nights out, like nights in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, sleeping bag, whether it's in the back of our truck, backpacking, river camp while pack rafting, can be a yurt while ski touring, etc.
Oh, fun. I like that phrase. And you talking about like not being a peak bagger, a list keeper, that sort of thing. You do mention on your blog quite often being a structured rambler.
Yeah, that was an insult from someone. And they said, and I admit it, I'm a long line of storytellers. So that's kind of cool. He said, this is nothing but structured rambling. He asked me about what's it like to live in Moab. And I think he wanted all the cool places in Moab and top 10 petroglyph panels and top 10 this and top 10 that, which I literally said what's like to live in Moab, the very boring things. And he said, that's nothing but structured rambling. I'm like, yeah, it is. So, and I talk about my wife a lot because she's awesome and she's my favorite backpacking partner. We just go out and see what we can see. We rarely stick to what we're going to do. We go up, and if you've ever been in canyon country, it is just amazing because it may be 5 by 5 miles on paper, but it's so intricate. You could spend a lifetime exploring a canyon. So just poke around and see like an 800-year-old structure or a 900-year-old petroglyph panel. So we have a basic plan of what we're going to do, but we rarely stick to it. My favorite statistic that we did one day, it was very snowy up in the Elk Ridge. You're familiar with that, outside of Monticello, Utah. And we decided, okay, we'll turn to a car camping trip. We spent 7 hours, no more than 2 miles from our campsite, because there was kivas and old Pueblo structures and amazing panels that aren't on the maps that with cobwebs that haven't been seen probably 15 years based on what we saw around the old Mountain Dew cans, which is another story in itself, if you know the area. And so it's structured rambling. We just go out, do what we want to see with a basic framework, and we never get disappointed.
I did see that on your blog that you had a lot of really cool pictures of like old houses that were mudded into the side of cliffs and things that you just can't find on a trail that is mainstream. It's probably behind, a fence or a chained off area or with a lot of signs saying don't touch. When you are in the backcountry, and you're stumbling upon these, how hard is it for you to not just be like, I want to put my handprint on his handprint and see what size my hands are compared?
Oh, absolutely not. Because over these years, one of our volunteer roles is site stewards with the State Historic Preservation Office. So we maintain archaeological sites. So it's been really drilled into us not to touch it because it's 800 years old, but your oils and such can damage it and unintentionally. So we're very, very strict about that. It's just, it's been there for generations. Want to make sure it stays there going forward.
Very insensitive question, Chance. We hate you.
I was just asking if he did.
No. It's a teachable moment, so thank you.
Yeah, good answer. Safe answer.
That was a joke.
What kind of advice can you give to someone that does what I would say a majority of our listeners do, which is a structured long distance hike, where there's a start point, there's an end point, there's a path to follow, and all of it is pretty much mapped out for you from the start. How do you encourage or like nudge people to incorporate more structured rambling into rigid itineraries like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends on the area, of course. It's really hard to do that kind of structured rambling in a forested environment. Bushwhacking in Maine is a skill set in itself. It's very difficult, so it'd be kind of hard to poke around because you'll get poked at by all the bushes and stuff. Whereas in canyon country, and to a lesser extent tundra, it's really easier to do that with the off-trail hiking. I would advise, and I enjoyed my traditional thru hikes. They really shaped my life, so that's a wonderful thing too. It's not an either or, it's just a different choice. Just because you like chocolate ice cream doesn't mean vanilla is terrible. You can like both, it's great. Or pistachio, which is my favorite. But in any case, yes, as I move or a fake one, depending on some of my real friends. But I would just look at a map, see what looks interesting, and use as a framework, barely color within the lines and just see what calls you. There's that lake. And a lot of times geography really funnels you into where you're going to go. We're not the first to walk those ways, obviously. You'll find, never mind the ancestral Pueblo or the Fremont, you'll find old rancher trails that have been constructed. There's only so many ways you can get through these breaks in the cliffs. And you realize as you're looking at your map or Google Earth, oh, this looks like a great way to go up the mountainside or the canyon. Other people have been there before.
Yeah.
So Google Earth is your friend. Just do what looks good. Worst case, you turn around and you've had some scenery anyway.
I'd say worst case is you get lost.
Or temporarily misplaced.
Yeah.
So traditionally on Backpacker Radio, we do like a chronology of someone's backpacking resume. Yours is too long, but I do want to go through it quickly just to kind of lay the foundation for people who might not be familiar with you. Just because I have a lot of questions about philosophy and gear and all that stuff. I think it's good to lay the foundation based on your experience. So long trail twice, AT, PCT, Colorado Trail, CDT, Ring the Peak Trail, which we'll come back to.
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah. That's Mike DiLorenzo's favorite.
Okay. Benton Mackay Trail, Tahoe Rim Trail, Uinta Highline Trail, Collegiate Loop, a walk across southern Utah. We're going to come back to that one. Great Divide Trail, Northern New Mexico Loop, coming back to that one. The Grand Moab Route, coming back to that one. Southeast Utah Group, coming back to that one. And it seems like over the last handful of years, most of your outdoor time has just been the unstructured rambling. So
yeah, some of that. And a couple of years ago, I did I connected all the different parks in Southeast Utah with paddling, so incorporating different ways of traveling as well. 70 miles of paddling and about 180 miles of backpacking. Connect all those four. For those not familiar with the Southeast Utah Group, it's the major structural unit for arches, which many of you are probably familiar with, canyonlands, Natural Bridges National Monument, which is stunning, and Hovenweep, which the joke is the best national monument you never heard of, and connecting them all four of those together, along with Bears Ears and Dark Canyon Wilderness. Hovenweep, it's an ancestral Pueblo amazing place not too far from Mesa Verde, right on the Colorado-Utah border. It's at the head of a spring, and it has these ancient structures that protected the water source in a canyon. It's called Ruin Canyon, which that's another name that we don't like to use, but it's called Ruin Canyon nonetheless.
Why don't you like to use it?
Well, and I'm not an archaeologist nor am I of the tradition, so I just speaking for myself, but the people of those traditions don't like to call it ruins because it's still a very important part of their culture and traditions that come from there, as well as I don't like using the term rock art for that because those images encompass more than just art. It's religious and spiritual, might be informational. Again, I'm not of that tradition. I'm not a trained archaeologist.
You're an Italian.
Or a fake one.
I don't know, you're moving your hand a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, from Rhode Island, but so anyway, it's just an amazing place. So we connected all those together, and it was just a great way to see Southeast Utah.
So I have a lot of very off-the-wall questions for you here from stuff that I've dug up on your website, but I know you're a man of many hot takes, and I think the hottest of takes right now is what's happening with public lands and potentially the threat to it. So I would be curious to get. That's a big question, I know, but take it where you want to go.
Absolutely. So hot take is another way of saying opinionated, which I readily admit it. So I do have some strong opinions, but so does everyone else in my family. Public lands are a very valuable thing, and I think the reason why it's on my mind here, especially in Texas, Texas has some beautiful places, and quite a few years ago, there was legendary superintendent of Southeast Utah Group, Walt Dabney, who's from Texas. He later became director of the Texas State Parks, so the rough equivalent. And I remember seeing a talk by him. And when he became director of the Texas State Parks, he said, yes, it's beautiful here. Remember, he grew up in Texas. The public lands extend from one side of the fence on this road to the other side of the fence. Texas, as big as it is, and there's, again, Waco Tanks and Palo Duro Canyon, which is another amazing place, and Big Bend Ranch State Park, as well as Big Bend. Beautiful, stunning. 96% of the lands here are private. And
96?
96%.
Wow.
And that same gentleman I mentioned has a wonderful YouTube video you should watch by the Colorado Natural History Association. And it's Walt Dabney, CNHA, you look it up. And he goes into the history of land management in the United States, but 15 minutes of it, because of his Texas roots, is also about the Texas land. The reason why I mentioned Texas being here is, I'm going to get a little political, is that the future we want of public lands in this country? I come from Utah, living currently, I should say. They have what's called the SITLA system, state trust lands, essentially. And their goal is to raise money for schools by selling off the land they own. They do land swaps. Is that the future we want for public lands in this country? And there's talk about returning lands to the state so they can sell it. So I'm very passionate about public lands. It's what shaped my life. It's how I met my current wife. It's something that means a lot to me. And I hate for seeing, as much as the beautiful lands in Texas, and I mean that sincerely, I hate to see it be the template for the rest of the country. It would make me very sad because it is public lands. It's the common good. And we have to decide as a country, what do we want for the common good? Or we want it to be up and lock and key like something in the medieval times where it's the feudal people.
Do you have any proposed routes to prevent that from becoming a reality across the country, especially out west? Because it seems like this is something that should be a bipartisan issue, because especially like hunting is such a big part of the public land culture. You get hunters, backpackers, fishermen, like you get all these economic forces rallying together. That should be something that we can all agree on.
Absolutely. The backcountry hunter and anglers are amazing allies. I don't know if you ever looked at their website or their different social media accounts, but they are just amazing allies in protecting our public land. So yes, work with people, not against. We all have common interests. I, again, live in Moab. A lot of the ATVers, it's not my recreation of choice, but a lot of them sincerely care about the public lands, because in order to use their side-by-sides and their Jeeps, they need the public lands too. So that's number one. It's easier to be united, to work for the common good rather than against each other. Because I may not ever go on a side-by-side, but I also recognize that we have our differences in how we want to use the lands, but we recognize this is something for the common good. So unity rather than division is also number one. On that note, be a pain in the ass. Raise your voice. Call your local Congress people. Make your voices heard. It's a little tough right now for different reasons, probably beyond the scope of the show, and I realize that. But the louder you are, be a big mouth. No, nothing ever got done. Turn the other cheek sounds good in theory. It doesn't always accomplish what you need.
Can I be briefly chaotic?
Do it.
Please.
Does anyone disagree with him? Damn. I had a microphone right there. I was really hoping we could get a good back and forth.
Yeah, we could turn this into CNN and have a debate show real quickly.
And then we just sit here with our table beers. Okay, cool. We're all on the same page.
Wow.
Love that.
Arguing's a family pastime, so that's kind of too bad.
Yeah, it would have been fun for me.
Okay. Like I said, I had a bunch of spastic questions, just digging through various gear lists and blog posts.
I'm kind of spastic anyway.
Yeah. So one thing, I don't think we've ever talked about this piece of gear on the podcast because there's never a reason to go into this level of nuance until today. What do you look for in a headlamp for through hiking / backpacking? Like what's the specific headlamp that you're using, and or what features are you looking for in that decision?
Is it light? That's number one. I still use the OG NU25, the yellow one with the shock cord on it, because it's light and it works, and no reason to replace it. Under an ounce with a modified headband. I love red lights, just for night vision. The Sun Blessa is kind of a newer one that closely mimics the original NU25, and that works pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's a headlamp. I mean, can you see with it? Does it work? And does it charge? So, I mean, you can get really in the deep dive of lumens and a lot of other things much smarter people can discuss. But at the end of the day, you're using to read your map and maybe make your ramen at night.
Yeah. I remember the blog post, you were reluctant to adopt the USB headlamp. I remember reading the exact moment in time where you made the transition from one to the other. It sounds like you haven't gone back since.
Yeah, pretty much. If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, there are some nuances you can get better, but I have a sub 1 ounce USB headlamp with a red light. And I have one of my car camping kits. I hate repacking. I have one in my day pack. I have one in my backpacking kit. And I do some volunteer search and rescue, so I have one in my go bag, if you're familiar with that concept. So, but they're all pretty much the same headlamp. The only difference is for search and rescue, I have a much beefier headlamp just because of it. And unlike ultralight backpacking, I have 2 headlamps I pack.
Yeah.
The saying is 2 is 1, 1 is none, for much more experienced people than me.
Well, I was going to ask because I've gotten a number of different headlamps due to wanting to cut down weight and forgetting where I put them. But the lumens question is always like whatever the one that looks brightest for the weight.
Yeah.
Great. But then they had the small one that was, like you said, on the small band, and it's not super bright, but you can see stuff. Are you using that to hike at night? Like, are you doing night hiking in it, or are you specifically using it to cook food at camp, set up your tent?
Yeah, that's pretty much just cooking at night, just seeing, very important hot cider with rum at night for the weekend. It's a very important thing. And again, for search and rescue, that's another ball of wax, but that's a much brighter, more technical headlamp that very bright for the occasional night hiking on the uneven terrain.
I'm 5'1", and I oftentimes forget that like the sun doesn't stay out as late at different times of the year. So I've been caught night hiking a bunch just because it's March and I thought I would do 20s and I forget the sun sets at 6. And so then I need the headlamp for about 2 hours. Do you have a recommendation for someone who wants a headlamp that they're specifically going to be using at camp and if they have to get up to pee at night versus someone who's going to find themselves night hiking for an hour or 2?
A lot of the Nightcore headlamps, there's like the NU33 I reviewed at one point, and I'm terrible at remembering numbers because I'm a very terrible gear wonk, so I apologize. But I just remember that being a little more beefy for real night hiking. And I know a lot of people do ultra running. They'll actually use flashlights versus headlamps. They'll use headlamp as an adjunct, but they'll be shining the flashlights as they're running along the trail.
Yeah, I've gotten to the both part, and that's when you really want to get to camp. Do you not use like Black Diamond? What's your brand of choice?
I guess Nightcore by default.
Nightcore. Okay.
Just because I have it and works. And
one of the things I like looking about your gear list is all of like the stuff that you're getting from Costco and frankly brands I've never heard of before. So that's why I'm excited to dive deeper into some of this.
Zach just learned about Costco.
Yeah.
Costco, Paradox base layers, they're the bomb.
When you have 3 kids, you learn about Costco real quickly.
You say Costco weird.
Well, how do I say it?
Costco.
How do you say it?
Costco. The T is silent.
Costco.
Yeah, the T is silent.
Costco.
Yeah. Costco.
I'm from the Northeast. We say everything weird, so when
How
go
do you
by
say
me.
it?
Costco?
Thank you. I'm also from the Northeast.
Okay, there you go.
Costco. So one thing that I thought was interesting that I think I mostly agree with is you mentioned that you're not a fan of sun hoodies or just hoodies in general, although you're wearing one now.
Yeah, I like it for around town. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
I will wear a sun hoodie when it's, say, roughly below 60, 65. My rule of thumb, if I have to take my hood off to wear a sun hoodie, it's too hot. And I notice, especially living in Moab, they're kind of cool. They look nice, but so many people are walking around without the hood up. Yeah, this is a 32-degree special, so El Cheapo, so there you go.
We find a lot of guests here on Backpacker Radio.
Yeah,
sorry we should have sent that in the
That's the segment where I touch you.
That's quite okay. Well, yes, it's a fine polyester blend. I don't know, with a little spandex. But I like sun hoodies as an adjunct, but not for my main hiking gear when it gets hot. I don't find they don't breathe very well. And if I have to put my hood down, I'm not really getting the sun protection.
Yeah. No, that's my beef as well. I haven't found the sun hoodie that is giving me adequate sun protection that doesn't just make me cook.
Yeah, and I use it during the winter or colder weather. I love it for that time because it adds more warmth. and I can wear it with my ball cap and have some warmth on my head. 'Cause, being bald here works out really well and gives me sun protection. And I like it as a base layer at night, just an extra layer of warmth, because again, the hood, so I don't need a fleece hat as much and just wear a buff, so it saves weight that way.
So what is your go-to sun system for hotter temperatures?
So I use a poly cotton blend Western snap shirt.
This is one of my questions as well. Do you get pushback? Because obviously, like, the very easy rule of thumb is cotton kills.
Well, I'm 51 years old. That was next month. I'm still alive, so take that for what it's worth. But all serious, the Western Snap ranching shirts. I'm going to extrapolate here and assume that people out in the sun all day, walking around with their horses and repairing fences may know a thing or two about sun protection. I find they breathe very well. Cotton breathes better. They're reinforcing the shoulders, so it keeps the sun out there. I've never, ever burned while wearing one. My better half, she has the classic Northern or Central European feet, blonde hair, blue eyes. She does not mess around with sun protection. She never burns while wearing this shirt. And I just like how it breathes, and I wear the dorky sun hat. It seems to work pretty well.
Yeah. Is there a minimum percentage of poly for the cotton kills?
Cotton kills, but I would never wear it, say, ski touring. I'm not going to wear a Western Snap shirt while ski touring. That'd be silly. So I'd wear, merino wool or polyester blend, as most of us will. I wouldn't wear whitewater rafting, but if I'm off on the Green River or the Colorado River while flatwater paddling, it works really well. 'Cause again, it breathes well, and it's just, there's no one-size-fits-all tool. I look at gear and clothing as part of a toolkit. And sometimes one tool works better than another. I would never try to hang up a picture frame, let's say, with a socket set, but I'm not going to try to hammer a nail with that same socket set. So different tools for different jobs is how I always look at gear and clothing in general.
And that's one that you're a fan of grabbing from, like, your local thrift shop or something? Like, there's not like a brand that you're loyal to with that?
For the most part, I do like. I've been really happy with Montbell puffies over the year.
Same.
I've been.
I love them. Like, I'm sad.
I like how their function to
That's the way
performance.
that you said it.
They're great. It's like, same. I can't live without them.
They're really well done. But then again, I will use, the cheap base layers. They work well. Or I will use, for winter backpacking, we're a big fan of the M65 liner Army puffy pants. My wife works with interns for the outdoors in the education program she helps run, and they always joke about the ugly Army pants, and they put them on, realize they're under $20 and they're warm. We're drinking our cocoa, and the weight to performance to price ratio's through the roof. So it's all depends. But then again, I wouldn't go cheap on a quilt either. The Catabatic or Nunatec quilts or a Montbell quilt is still going to be
I should
top.
have clarified. I meant just for the poly cotton button-ups. You mentioned on your website that you were a fan of just getting those from, like, a thrift shop.
Sorry. Yeah, or just $20.
That was a more informative answer, so I'm glad that
I tend to go off on the deep end, so
perfect.
there we go.
Yeah.
Back into the puffy pants. Are you a Montbell puffy pant fan, or do you have a preferred equally light pair of puffy pants?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We wear the Army surplus puffy pants.
Yeah, but when you throw the word Army in there, I think it's going to be heavy.
Well, it's not as light as a Montbell, but different manufacturers made it, so it can be as 12 or 13 ounces for, a size medium, let's say.
Where do you buy them?
Army surplus store, eBay.
I have to go to eBay?
I'm afraid so.
Jesus. Okay. That to me seems like a lot of steps. It feels like I've got to haggle with like 8 people and still lose.
Well, there's a lot of surplus stores in eBay.
Okay. I can't just search armysomething.com?
Well, you might be getting a offer to join
recruited.
up. Yes.
Find me next year abroad.
See the world.
Yeah.
Get a rifle.
They don't want me. Okay. I had a question, and that's totally off topic, so sorry, everyone. Have you hit what you would call a midlife crisis yet?
I don't think so, because, life is great. I mean, I'm just wondering,
because you mentioned your age twice, and on your blog, you specifically wrote that you were 49 and a half.
Yes, because that was a joke because there's the milestone birthday coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm actually 49 and a half. But honestly, it's just, whatever.
You're just vibing.
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
it's more to poke fun at myself than anything. I feel very lucky. I've been able to do some fun things. I get to live in a great area, and I have an amazing person to share it with. We do some awesome things, and I really like my life. So it's just, I can't wait to see the next chapter.
Can you tell me about your awesome person?
I'd be absolutely happy to. So she's probably blushing when she hears this, but that's okay because she's great. I met her on one of my longer hikes, and she knew of me through my outdoor stuff. And I came through Moab, and she did the thru-hiker thing. Why don't you come resupply? And I set my maps there and took a shower, all the other thru-hiker things. And I kept coming back to Moab, and she said, well, you should move to Moab, and where she works, and been there ever since. And we got married, and here we are. And her parents love the fact the unemployed hiker bum was moving with her daughter.
Yeah.
So that was wonderful.
How did you fall in love?
Ooh. So we went to Cedar Mesa, which part of Bears Airs, which again has these amazing canyons and Pueblo structures, and we went backpacking together. And because she's always wanted to go there, so I showed her some spots, and we had a great time. And she reminds me, even read poetry in the middle of the canyon, so that apparently impressed her. So I'll be a little bit of a romantic here. But afterwards, I said, was this our first date? And she said yes, and went from there.
You read her poetry in the middle
I
of the
did.
canyon? Do you remember the poem?
I think it was Raymond Carver.
Oh, it wasn't an original?
No, because I'm not that smart.
Okay, cool.
Roses are red.
This canyon is big.
This canyon is big, and
We've
I
got
can't think of any of the
tent.
words because I'm not that great. No.
Something about pitching a tent. This might just be me too plugged into the news, but I saw on your gear list that you just use 1.5 liter plastic bottles, like I think every backpacker out there, smart water bottles. Is there any part of you that is worried about microplastics? Basically, this is me asking you to talk me out of that fear for myself, because that's something that I've used historically on every backpacking trip. And now, I think about it, and the water that I'm drinking out in the desert tastes like plastic, so I'm definitely ingesting stuff that you don't want in your body. Is this something that you put any thought into?
I must confess I have not. It's probably warranted, but I keep on trucking along and drinking the gas station water bottles.
Yeah, good.
Zach, have you noticed at the airports that they're starting to replace the plastic bottles with the aluminum ones? Like the one I got
at
today?
the convenience stores?
Yeah, at the
I don't know if I
airports.
have noticed, because I'm always filling up my Nalgene, but
I'll show
a good
you
observation.
mine when we get back.
Yeah.
But every time I see those, I'm like, you look like you would fit really nicely in my pack. Because aluminum keeps them, I think, colder.
yeah.
Probably
And
does.
it's not plastic,
Yeah.
unless I'm wrong on that. I think it's different. And they're the same, narrow bottle. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, should I take you guys with me?
Let's
That was a thought I
experiment.
had
Yeah.
literally this morning on the plane before I took my plane meds and zonked out.
You do zonk out.
Yeah, I was heavily medicated. They said something was wrong with the nose of the plane. I was like, okay, I'll see you guys when we land, or I'll just not see you again.
So I'm a child of the 80s. They say no to drugs. You're saying say yes to drugs.
If the doctor gives them
There
to
you go.
that's not, you're not saying yes to drugs, you're saying yes to health care. I'm all for health care.
Power of marketing, folks.
That segment's brought to you by Pfizer. Use code TREK. No.
Yeah.
I have to acknowledge your photography is amazing.
Well, you take enough pictures, one comes out well.
Yeah. You're one of the few hikers I've actually seen document a badger. That's my trail name, so that resonated with me. What camera do you use?
Currently, I use a Sony RX Generation 4, I want to say, of the classic RX, the mirrorless
That's just the
camera.
point and shoot
Yeah,
series? Yeah.
It's a good compromise because, obviously a SLR is going to give you much better control, but at heart, I'm still a backpacker. So the mirrorless camera gives you a better shot than a phone while still maintaining some of the weight savings over an SLR. So it's my happy medium.
Yeah.
Still a weight penalty, but less so than, say, an SLR.
Yeah.
Or more so, rather.
Is there one part of photography in the backcountry that speaks to you mostly? Is it the nature? Is it the landscapes? Is it both equally?
I would say both equally. I like it's just an extension of how I document what we're doing, and it really creates a memory for me I can go back to. It's an extension. I always joke I'm not artistic, but I guess composing the photos, making sure the right light hits, and just a wing and a prayer, hoping I get the right shot, and looking back on it years later.
Yeah.
You mentioned on your blog that you don't make videos of your trips because the time it would take to edit them to your liking would not be worthwhile, but it seems like you do put a little bit of time into your blog posts and into your photography.
Oh, absolutely. The thing about writing, I can do it 9 o'clock at night, save a draft, come back to it 2 days later.
Yeah.
Whereas video, and it's a skill set I frankly don't have, and you have to do it more in the moment, enough daylight, especially outdoor videos. And it, for whatever reason, it just doesn't speak to me as much as writing or photography. I find I can hit pause a lot easier with writing and photography more than video.
Yeah.
And that may be incorrect. That's the way I found for me. And I readily admit I just don't have that skill set that I haven't developed over the years as much as, say, my hack I call writing, and enough, half-ass shots with photography that come out okay.
That's interesting because for me, I gave up on blogging for the trek on post 3.
What?
You know that.
I thought you were on a pause.
No, I stopped. Well, yeah, pause. Sometimes I throw in a random banger, but I got to day 3 on the PCT, and I was just like, my thumbs have no will to push these buttons and tell this story. And even once I read it back, if I've done it, it's like another day where I woke up at 7. My alarm was set for the same time. I walked, and then I ate the same meal, and then I walked, and then I ate the same meal, and I saw the same people, and we went to bed. So to take a blog and make it interesting to read for me is a skill.
And I kind of cheat too, because even on the longer walks, I don't do daily blog posts. It's more of a summary, like the Southeast Utah one where I paddled and walked. It was more of a summary of what I did versus, okay, I paddled X amount of miles today, and then I exited out before Cataract Canyon. It was more of an overall gist of what I did and what I got out of it. So it was more of a summary rather than a daily blog post.
But you're also not detailing, we went here and we went here and we went here. You're specifically not giving people the itinerary to follow.
Correct.
So how do you make it interesting?
Well, it depends who. Some would say it's boring as,
I'm not saying it's boring. I'm just saying that is a skill to not give that.
I honestly don't know. It's just I enjoy it. I guess that's the main thing. If you enjoy something, it doesn't seem like a chore. And I guess that's always been my creative outlet. I'm a storyteller at heart, and I guess the medium I use to tell these stories is writing, and it just speaks to me, if you will, versus video. And again, I recognize the art and the skill set and the talent needed to make those videos. I just don't have it or the inclination for it. For someone who can do that, I've seen some amazing videos that really capture things I can't capture with videos. Just like you're saying, writing doesn't appeal to you, whereas someone else may not like writing but can capture it in a different medium. I mean, there's so many ways of expressing art. I mean, just a movie versus theater versus a painting. What's better, a jazz quartet or a symphony orchestra? I can't give that answer. They're both equally awesome. You get 4 people who are playing in a tightly knit jazz quartet, or if you see a symphony where all these amazing musicians are just synchronized and playing together, they're both equal, they're both passionate, they're both wonderful. And that's how I feel. Writing is my medium, photography, whereas for someone else, it might be video. For another person, it might be this podcast. So there's a reason why Baskin-Robbins has so many different flavors of ice cream. It'd be a boring old world if we all did things the same way.
Did you get the same satisfaction? Did you feel like an artist painting on their canvas when you were doing podcasting, or did that not speak to you the same way as photography and writing?
Oh, I enjoyed it just because, the crew of D-Lo and Disco and POD were really amazing, and we just had all different personalities.
Yeah.
I tend to, go off in the deep end. I'm very opinionated, so I go off on that deep end. And D-Lo, Mike DiLorenzo, fellow Northeast transplant, very similar to myself, very sarcastic, and POD was like the den mother. It's try to wrangle us all together, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. So I really enjoyed interacting with my good friends while drinking delicious craft beer.
Yeah.
So
if you could give maybe not a Baskin Robbins flavor, but any ice cream flavor, to blogging, to photography, to the trail show, and to backpacker radio, what ice cream flavors would we be? Because you just said they're all like different ice cream flavors.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So which ice cream flavors are all of these things?
Wow, that's kind of cheating to say Neapolitan. You have like 3 different flavors in one.
Oh, for who? Which one?
Well, I guess podcasting is kind of like, like that.
Strawberry, just based on the co-hosts.
Which one of us is vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry?
Oh, wow, that's right. Well, I'm definitely vanilla because I'm boring. But
I have more gear questions. Is that okay?
Please.
Yeah.
Take
I
us
love
back
how
on
many
track.
budget gear recommendations you have, because I think it's very easy, and we're guilty of this too, like recommending the $300 piece. That's what I'm privy to most of the time. They send it to us, so like that's what I know to recommend. A lot of the stuff that you recommend is cheap stuff that you can find like at Costco.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's silent.
One of the pieces I've seen pop up on your website most frequently is the 100-weight pullover fleece.
it is a classic. I still use it. It's always in my day pack. It's in my go bag. It's cheap. It's durable. It'll last forever. Is it the lightest? No, but it's still light. Is it the most breathable? No, but it's still breathable. It's just a wonderful, cheap, effective, jack of all trades, master of none, quite frankly, but it works in this days of alpha fleece. I mean, I would go skiing in the trees with 100 weight. I would never do that with alpha fleece. As great as alpha fleece is for certain conditions, I would never use that in trees or bushwhacking. Grid fleece certainly works well, but it can be expensive or hard to find. So just a simple 100 weight, especially for someone starting out, you don't need the so-called best just to get outdoors. I think too many people get wrapped up in, I need the best to get out there, and they look over the gear. And I can understand that because it's very intimidating when you're starting out, but sometimes what's good enough will get you out there. I mean, I think when I first started backpacking, there's an expression, again, it's the bingo card for people out there. As my mom would say, she says, you don't know your ass from your elbow. And she was right. And I had way too much food and way too much gear, but getting out there, even with the wrong gear, I still to this day remember that sunset on Franconia Ridge for my first ever solo backpacking trip. I couldn't tell you what tent I used. I couldn't tell you what cooking pot I used. I couldn't tell you what pants I wore. I just know that on that solo trip, seeing the sunset of that beautiful Franconia Ridge, hearing the wind go through the Krumholtz there in the White Mountains, you're familiar with it, which is still one of my favorite areas of the world, it made an impression upon me. And the gear was just the tool I used to get there. It was the wrong gear. I'm sure it was heavy. It was probably a cast-off cook pot from Mom or the thrift store. Doesn't matter. I got out there and enjoyed it. Then you can start dialing in. And the beauty of budget gear nowadays is that the budget gear of today is much better than the budget gear of even 10 years ago. You can get some really decent budget gear while still being light nowadays, and it's amazing. And will it be perfect? Probably not. But will it get you out there in comfort and safety? Absolutely. And that's what's important.
Well said.
Have you been back on Franconia Ridge since?
Yes, I was last there. It's been a while. I want to say, 2008. Yeah, I haven't been to New England backpacking in a while. Most of my family is still there, but my immediate family has moved.
Was it just as good as the first time, or was it different, worse, weird?
Oh, it was absolutely still great in a different way. It was during peak leaf season.
Oh, okay. Are there leaves up there at the top? There's no trees at the top.
Well, you could see in the valleys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was
I'm thinking when I went to Franconia Ridge, like that was the most beautiful view. Like getting up there was like, holy shit. And part of me in my mind is like, what if I go back and it's cloudier? I go back and it just doesn't look the same. Like that magic of the first time almost makes it scary to go back and be let down that it's not as good as that first time.
So recently we took some good friends to a place that really means a lot to us. I don't know if Larry Boy's ever been on the show, or if you know of him, Route in Between. I forget what he's done some own routes. And
I know a female Larry Boy, so I don't think we're talking about the same person.
Well, a really good friend, a very accomplished backpacker in his own right, and he has a new partner. So he took me to this place we've been to many times. And every time I go there, there's something new to see, new to experience. And it's like looking through it with new eyes every time. And even if Franconia Ridge was cloudy, because I have been up there when it's cloudy, it's just a different, wonderful experience. And these special places, I don't think I'll ever get tired of them. There's something new to see every time.
Yeah, and that was what was hard for me about thinking about going back, is it was like the loose clouds that go over. So it's not cloudy, but you get those thin clouds that you're walking through with the views. And it's like, it can't get better than this. Surely it can't.
Yeah, it's even to this day, New England, it'll always hold a special place in my heart, New England hiking.
Yay, Texas.
No, Texas, again, Waco, Tanks, Big Bend, some amazing places too.
Tell me about snivel gear.
Snivel gear. So one of my favorites, because snivel gear is something that gives you comfort that may not be necessary. That's a deep pull, by the way.
I went through. I combed.
Wow. My snivel gear is a piece of just Costco merino wool socks I still wear, because no matter how cold you are, no matter how rainy it is, you pull in that one pair of dry socks that you only wear in camp, it is just like manna from heaven. It's wonderful. That's my snivel gear. Other people might have a mug used for hot drinks, even when through hiking. So I think snivel gear, maybe it tips your lighter pack. Who cares? We all need that special little something that makes the difference between tolerating versus comfort. And for me, it is a pair of merino wool socks at night.
For your median 3-season backpacking getup, what is your base weight?
Solo or?
Solo. Yeah.
Solo, under 10 pounds, even with the camera.
Does that include the heavy merino socks or?
Oh, yeah. And the way I go light isn't so much what I take, it's what I don't take. I'm more of a minimalist and ultralight backpacker. I'm lazy, so I don't want to take any more items than I have to. And that's, all kidding aside, I've always been more of a minimalist, not just with backpacking, just how I approach a lot of things. So the fewer things I can carry, the simpler setting up and breaking down camp is, which means I can get more hiking time in.
So what aren't you bringing that maybe the average 3-season backpacker is?
Yeah, so rather than multiple pair of socks, I'll bring 2 pair of hiking socks and just swap out one in my pack. I'll bring a foam pad rather than an inflatable pad. I'll bring a frameless rucksack.
How many pairs of underwear?
1.
Do you do outside and then inside?
Outside, I'm not. Switch it?
You wear it and then you flip it?
I do not.
Wow, you just go the whole time one way.
Oh, yeah.
You're wasting the clean side.
Well, as long as the feet are warm and dry.
Okay.
I will do,
Respect.
Sometimes I'll grab some water and pull it off to the side and just give a good scrub of the clothes when I can.
Do you just say that?
No.
I feel like when people say that, like no one
So
means
this
it.
is when I did my walk across Utah, I would, because it's dry camping, because it's the desert, and you get to a water source around 10 in the morning. And it was in the fall, I actually did a sponge bath every day. I'd wash up. I would do my socks and underwear. I never had so few rashes or injuries or anything, and I became a big proponent. The one time I didn't do that on a more recent hike was the Great Divide Trail, because that was a tough trail in terms of ups and downs. I ended up getting athlete's foot because it's wetter. So I learned in my Utah, it pays to spend 15 minutes of a simple sponge bath. And it was just a break during the day. I would, do my breakfast, and I would brush my teeth and do all my toiletry things. It was a nice break. And I would do a sponge bath. It was great.
Do you really bring a sponge?
No. It was a bandana, so
cool.
Sponge-esque.
What's your go-to bandana of choice?
Cheap and cotton, whatever I have in the gear room.
Cool.
Charles looks like you've got one you could loan him.
Yeah. Do you want my shirt? Do you want me to wash you down with my shirt?
I'm a happily married man, so I'll leave it at
Hey, my fiance is watching me.
There
I think
we
he's
go.
texting me stop right now. Sorry, Garrett, I love you.
So speaking of snivel gear and ultralight packs, I saw on your website that you're now a proponent of using trowels, which is not something that I think a lot of ultralight backpackers bring, because they see that as like an extra ounce in their pack.
Absolutely, because people dig in. Maybe back east where the soil's better, you can do it easier. As I've evolved in my outdoor ethos, I realize it's a community. You have to think of the community as you're doing it. And a lot of people say use a trekking pole, use the back of your foot. if you hike some of the more popular trails, people claim to do that. There's a lot of TP out there, I've noticed. And I think people may have good intentions, but sometimes good intentions collides with reality and doesn't always work. And a simple 1 ounce trowel works really well, especially, where I live now, you're required to have a wag bag, never mind a trowel. So, yeah, Grand County, which is the size of Rhode Island, so it all comes back to Rhode Island. You're required to have a wag bag now, and Canyonlands National Park as well. So you have to pack out your poo, and a lot of people have trouble with that at first. But so the seventh principle, leave no trace, is essentially to think of others, and I think that is the underlying bedrock of all outdoor ethos. How is your ethics? How is your actions going to impact others? No man is an island, as the old poem goes. We probably all learned in high school. What you do directly impacts people, and sometimes it's the smallest things. Just making a 6-inch cat hole and with something really good that will work with the roots and the rocks, especially in these more harder dig areas, makes a big difference. So is it an ounce in a lighter pack? Yes. Will it make a difference overall? Maybe not one person, but how many people through hike the Pacific Crest Trail now? 300, 400? I don't even know nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's in the hundreds. So
And those are the people that finish the PCT, like the people that started are in the thousands.
yeah, exactly. And I really do think people do have good intentions. But again, sometimes good intentions don't mesh with reality. So a little bit goes a long way. And it goes back to earlier, what can we do to protect our public lands? There's a great example. It may seem small, with everything going on, it may seem Mickey Mouse, but it makes a big impact over the years and the generations. How cool would it be to go back to the same place and not see literal desiccated crap all over the place?
This is one that might not hit for Texas per se, but I think where you and I live, I think it's probably more pertinent, is you have strong views on people having campfires out west.
Yes. I think in campgrounds, why not? It's controlled, has a concrete pad, it's very manageable. I've said it before, I think they're increasingly a relic of the past. Backcountry, whether backpacking, I honestly don't get, because the last thing I want to do at night is make a campfire. But even dispersed camping sites, there was a Pack Creek fire, which is in the LaSalle Mountains, not far from Moab. It's the watershed, and there was this relatively small fire, but it impacted the tundra very high up. And during that same time, we went into the other local range called the Abajo Mountains, or the Blues, as some people call them. We found an unattended campfire, just crackling with embers, while there was a major fire incident going an hour up the road. And it was caused by an unattended campfire. And again, good intentions, I'm sure people have this romanticism about it. But at one point, we also said you can bury your trash, too. So I think in this hotter and drier season, and as more people use our public lands in some areas especially, we need to think of others. And I think backcountry campfires are part of that new ethos. Again, campgrounds, why not? Designated campgrounds. But backcountry, I think it's becoming less and less. And a lot of times they're outright banned as well. So I think that's going to become something we look back on maybe finally with a little romanticism. But I think it's become part of the past of the outdoors.
Here's a question. Let's say you're in an area that is prone to wildfires. It's not far enough into fire season where campfires are banned, but maybe you're going out with a group of people that you're friends with in town, maybe friends from work, people who aren't in the long-distance backpacking community, and they want to have a big fire and they want to do all these things, and you're going as a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you encourage appropriate behavior with it without being written off as like they're just a buzzkill and now we're tuning them out and we wish we didn't invite them?
Oh, absolutely. So if you go to a front country area, easy. You just buy the firewood, you're at the fire pit, no problem. Backcountry, you've actually experienced it. Oh, we should have a campfire. And I say, well, we're really not into it. What I found, it sounds silly at first until you actually experience it. You get those solar lanterns. Lucy Lights is the brand name. And it encourages the same conversation. And you don't get the warmth, literally, and the crackling and all those other things that even myself look at with some romanticism. But I'm also not worried about buckets of water, put out the coals completely. I'm not worried about the smell. I'm not worried about destroying my very expensive clothing versus, say, the wool and canvas of decades past. But it does create that same camaraderie, just the soft glow of lights. I actually picked that up from a river guide I know. He used to, on the Colorado River, you have to take fire pans, and he thought they were a big pain in the ass to have fire pans and pack out the coals. And he started taking garden lanterns, the solar-powered garden lanterns, and he said what he found was, rather than people walking through with headlamps in the river camps, and rather than have to deal with the fire pits, you have to pack out the ashes on the river camps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're very, very strict.
You dig out your fire pit and you put it in a bag and you
have
take
to
it
have
out?
a fire pan, for I understand. You have to pack out the ashes.
Wow.
I'm not a real river person, but I understand they're very strict in certain areas. And he thought that was a lot of work, so he just bought these very similar to these solar-powered lanterns, just the garden lights, and people would talk and gather. It became the central gathering area, and I stole that idea, quite frankly, because you steal from others who know better. And it worked out really well. And I found that, especially with these interns that I mentioned, and people who never camped before, in their mind, they want the campfire. But is it about the campfire or the camaraderie you're having at this beautiful place, introducing these people who haven't really experienced the outdoors? And we're having the hot drinks. We're able to talk around the soft glow of the lanterns. It's very similar to a Coleman lantern in some ways. So it gives the same effect without some of the downsides. Again, I admit you don't have that romanticism of the crackling wood, and some people like the wood smoke in some ways, that it is a certain kind of smell, but none of the downsides either. And frankly, a lot of places are banning the fires as well.
So you just got to one-up them. You just got to show up with better stuff.
I wouldn't say better as much as a different alternative.
Yeah, but then people will come to you because they're like, that guy looks like he's having a good time, and you still haven't lit this sucker yet.
That's right. And I'm not packing out ashes like in a river camp, and I'm not pouring buckets of water at 10 o'clock at night after probably a few too many Lone Stars.
All right, cool.
Can you give us an impromptu beer review on the Lone Star?
Oh, this is an iconic classic. I mean, this is, we're in Texas. You need to have Lone Star.
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
Let's get a yeehaw, guys. It's been a while. 1, 2, 3.
Yeehaw.
I love that.
Back.
It is.
Maybe anytime you agree with something.
Okay, believe it or not, I have more gear questions, but I want to talk trails. Let's talk trails. What do you think?
Makes sense.
This one's a selfish one, and I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast at all, but the Ring the Peak Trail, which you've done twice. I know this is a shorter one, but I'm taking notes here because this is something I think that is up my alley.
Yeah, so I tagged along both of those. My buddy Mike DiLorenzo, he lived in Colorado Springs for a while, and they made, I don't know the status of it anymore, but at the time it was this community organization called Ring the Peak. Friends of the Peak, that's actually what it was, and they made the Ring the Peak Trail, kind of a mini version of the Wonderland Trail, 60 miles versus 90 miles, and it goes around the base of Pikes Peak. Very iconic, where America the Beautiful was written, and Air Force Academy's nearby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you go through some really cool areas, and D'Lo and myself both like alternative routes, so we didn't always follow it because it wasn't complete when we did it too. So we made some cross country high versions of it, and we did it 2 years in a row. It was a lot of fun, and we started at Manitou Springs one year, so it was kind of funny going to those fresh Seltzer Lake Springs, resupplying there. We went by the Tram Peakway with that snack bar, but we had to make an alternative because the route officially goes in the back of a junior high. I'm like, D'Lo, we're not gonna two guys by themselves walking through while the no, let's make a detour.
Junior high on Pikes Peak?
You should go through the base of Pikes Peak.
Okay.
And it wasn't completed yet, so the logical connection was along this path that happened to go behind a junior high school at the time. And that's just bad news. They're having recess.
You've got the camera with the giant lens.
Yeah, I'm like, let's just avoid this. This is not going to work out well. So we veered off the quasi-official road walk because I thought that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. You mentioned Manitou Springs. Have you done the incline before?
I have not.
Okay.
Same.
I was tasking Jess with doing that recently, and she sent me a news story of a guy who died on it. She's like, "Is this the trail that you're talking about?" I'm like,
"Wait,
yeah.
Jess, have you not done it yet?" I just moved here. I'll do it. Yeah, I know. I'll do it with you. I've not done it. I moved here 10 years ago. No problem. Okay, cool. When you did this was before they finished paving the road up Pikes Peak.
I have no idea because We didn't go to the summit of Pikes Peak. It goes around it's a ring, just like the Wonderland Trail doesn't go up to the top of Rainier. It goes around it.
Yeah, but to go to the top of Rainier is like.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I've been to the top of Pikes Peak once. A person I was dating at the time, she grew up in Colorado Springs and wanted to do it. So that's the one and only time I've been to hiking Pikes Peak. And my dad and his then girlfriend came. We did the auto tour and bought the donuts. So
with Pikes Peak, they used to have the whole road going up. It was a dirt road.
Yes.
And they used to do these drag races each year with
I remember
cars.
that.
It was nuts. It's like the race to the clouds or something. And then they lost a lawsuit with the Sierra Club that told them that they had to then start paving the road at the rate of a mile a year.
I did not know
and
this.
I think it was in like 2003 or something where they lost this, and every year they had to pave a mile. And around 2011-ish, give or take a few years, was when they had finished paving it all the way at the top.
I did not know this.
Well, now you do.
A race to the clouds up a 14er sounds like Stairway to Heaven or something, like you're asking for a death wish.
Driving that road slowly, like my mom, who's afraid of heights, was like a cat in the bath club clawing at the window, and my dad drove it like screaming bloody murder, like get me out of this car.
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't come down from the top. And we were like, there's no trains left today. Like, you have to get in the car.
This is where I live now.
Yeah.
Send supplies.
And now you know my mom, so you know.
Yeah. Now I know where the flying comes from.
Yeah.
Please tell us about a walk across southern Utah.
Yeah, so that came about. I'll paint the picture here. 2016, a relationship I was in ended. And I was working in a corporate drone, working way too many hours on call, blah, blah, blah. So I fired myself from my software job. And yes, I retire early and often, folks. That's if I have any advice from this podcast, retire early and often. It served me well throughout life. So I said, you know what? I don't want to do the Hey Duke. I looked at the Grand. You know what? I'm going to walk across Utah. And of course, you have a cool idea. Someone's already done it. Jamie Green, who's probably the most accomplished Utah backpacker for long distance hiking most people have never heard of. He's just done some awesome routes beyond walking across Utah. And this other couple did it. So I did what I always do. I steal from the best, kind of cobbled together my own route. I started at the Utah-Nevada border, worked my way to Gateway, Colorado, and I came through Moab. 80% was roughly the Hey Duke or alternatives. Like I went across the maze in Ernie's country versus the official Hey Duke. That was an alternative some people do as an example. And it was just an amazing, amazing, amazing trip because the Colorado Plateau in the fall with the cottonwoods blazing yellow with the red rocks and that crisp weather. And there were two trips that really changed my life. The Appalachian Trail way back in 98, because that's what led me to move to Colorado and the life I have now. If I hadn't done the Appalachian Trail, I probably would not have moved away from Rhode Island and my very, frankly, parochial upbringing, because it exposed me to different things. But walking across Utah is where I met Joan, is what made me move to Moab, and I cannot picture living anywhere else now. I didn't think I'd ever live in Moab, Utah. It is a place that's part of me, and I absolutely love it. And that was a very influential trip for me, on par with the Appalachian Trail, because that was a life-changing milestone in my life, and certainly this walk across Utah. It is something, Utah and the southeast Utah in particular is just an incredible mix of culture and history and beauty. Terrible craft beer, but you take what you can get. And just, I love the place and can't picture living anywhere else now.
What's your max percentage you can do for beer?
Oh, so Utah, so every state has weird liquor laws. Utah is really bad. So when you go to a brewery, you can get 5.0 only. And the only reason why it's 5.0 is because it was 4.0. The other manufacturers of liquor said, we're not going to make special beer just for Utah. So Utah, who cares about tourism? It's all about, doing the hand motion here for the people who can't see it, the money gesture. It's all about making money, so they upped it to 5.0. And I don't care about the alcohol as much as they have to alter the recipe.
Sure.
So you don't get an IPA, you don't get a nice barrel age, rum stout. You get a wheat beer tastes okay because it's lower alcohol. So you just have to pick and choose which draft beers you get. There's some delicious beers from Austin Brewing Company. And I'm like a kid in a candy store because I lived in Boulder, Colorado for a while, which has great craft beer. And we just don't have that in Utah. So you have to pick and choose your compromises.
You had a really eloquent quote on your website, and I won't butcher it by paraphrasing, but basically you summarize the landscapes and cultures between Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah. Do you want to give a synopsis of that?
I think I know which one you're saying, just the differences between the cultures.
Yeah, so to get you in the right direction, you summarize Colorado as people that go out and like bag 14ers on the weekend and then go back to their 80-hour-a-week job.
Yeah, so I worked in the software industry, and I would see that. You know, Colorado, it's the work hard, play hard. We're going to push code into the wee hours of the morning. We're going to crunch the code. Then we're going to go run the ultra and bag the 14er and have our Strava. And Utah, and again, I love it. It's beautiful. There's a beehive on the flag for a reason. What can we do for the betterment? It's very community-minded, but what can we do? Utah is all about extraction. Right now, it's extracting tourist dollars. So for better or worse. New Mexico, which is someplace I had an interview for a job in Santa Fe that I turned down because we decided that we love Utah too much. But to me, New Mexico also has a wonderful blend of culture and history and fantastic food. And the outdoors is just part of the landscape. It doesn't seem separate. It's just there, but in a good way. And that mix of the Anglo and the New Mexican Spanish and the native culture all blends together. It's formed this amazing, amazing, amazing place. And it's really one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah. Let's pander a bit. Let's do something for Texas.
What? Oh, Texas. I said we spent 3 major trips. Well, 2, Joan and I together, one on my own at Big Bend. It was great. I've been to Palo Duro, and my apologies. I speak just enough Italian to butcher Spanish, so I don't know if it's Palo Duro, Palo Duro. An amazing second largest canyon in the country, as most of you know. Great place.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
Yes! Who said it? Raise your hand. I like you.
And I went to Cap Rock Canyon, crossed the way. It was quicker for me to get to the Panhandle than some other people in Texas, and it was great. There's some beautiful places here, and I keep on coming back to it because I was mesmerized by it. Waco Tanks. It is just that blend of Mesoamerican culture with those amazing mask panels. And I didn't know this is one of the premier bouldering areas in the country, if not the world as well.
Can I ask what Waco Tanks is? Because I know Waco from like Joanna and Chip Gaines.
Different place. Waco's Hueco. And apparently in Spanish it means tank. So it's like tanks. Or if you're familiar with Boulder, Colorado, it's like saying Table Mesa. Table. So it means tanks, and it's this one pocket of water essentially in some lower hills surrounded by desert near El Paso. But it's really cool. Again, bouldering, it's really well known, but it's also well known for these very intricate, well-preserved, you call them face paintings or masks. They're just very colorful, and there's a lot of history. The famous Buffalo Soldiers came through there in 1869. You can see one of their very intricate inscriptions. And it's just 5,000 acres, so relatively small, but very well protected, and just an absolute gem.
Are you doing a lot of research going into these structured ramblings where you're saying, okay, here we might see some Buffalo Soldier activity in this type of way, and then you recognize it and you're like, that's cool? Or are you recognizing it and being like, that's cool, and then you come home and you go on the internet and you're like, what the heck was that?
Yes.
To which?
We do both.
Okay.
So we're both, history is my original background. It's what I did in college. I just fell into IT as my day job because it pays money, and it allowed me to go hiking more. Joan is a scientist by training. She's much more intelligent than me. She's evolutionary geneticist. That's all I know about it because I'm not very smart. So she loves the research. Between the two of us, we bring our strengths. She's very detail-oriented. I'm a very big picture person. And we both love to research these things in our different ways. So when we find something very interesting, we'll find an old rancher's inscription, and we'll research the ranch from who knows when and find it after the fact. But going in, we'll find out about, this was a trade route. We went to Oregon pipe cactus 3 years ago now, and the border may separate Arizona from Mexico, but that was a major trading route between the Pacific Ocean all the way up to where we live. That's how seashells got there. And so we just find that fascinating. We want to go there. We want to see how all these places connect. So we'll do both.
I'm sure you don't want to tip some of your favorite historical hotspots, so don't have to. But of the places that are better known that you feel comfortable putting out into the podcast sphere, is there somewhere in Utah or New Mexico that you think listeners should know about?
Oh, there's plenty of them. Happy to say it. I mean, New Mexico alone, if you ever get a chance, go to the Taos Pueblo, because it's run by the Taos people. They've been there for 1,000 years, and they're still people living there, and you can see the structures that are very similar to Chaco Canyon in New Mexico and other places, because they have their ancestry from there. So you can see this living place. In my neck of the desert, I always tell people on the way to Canyonlands, go to Newspaper Rock. It is at the junction of different canyons, and it has images from post and pre-Columbian, has some ranchers. It really is history in etchings. And it's the major place where all these canyons come together. And you'll see bison showing how prevalent they were in that area pre-Columbian. And you'll see some Utes who came after the fact. And you'll see Fremont and Pueblo. And just an amazing place that's very public and is good as anything that we've seen in the backcountry. It's just that cool of a place. And I mentioned that for New Mexico. If you have a chance, if you have to go to one place, go to Chaco Canyon. It is a National Historic Monument in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, and it is just one of the most phenomenal places you'll ever see if you get the chance.
Have you, talking about Newspaper Rock and how there's like etchings that show how prominent the buffalo were, have you, in your off the beaten path ramblings, bumped into anything that shows incorporations of like megafauna with people?
Oh, we've seen a lot of hunting scenes. For sure.
Like mastodons and giant sloths.
Oh,
and
so there is.
saber-tooths.
So in Moab, there is what they call the mammoth panel.
Ooh.
No, it looks very much like a mammoth. And I should say that too. You don't want. I can't interpret what they mean. I can say what they look like. And a lot of people, myself included, think it looks like a mammoth. Why is it there? Who knows why it's there, but it's very obvious. It looks like some kind of, you would say, an elephant. So we've seen that. We've seen bears, of course, incorporated into hunting scenes very prominently. Bison, as I mentioned. We'll see elk hunting scenes. Bighorn sheep are very prominent.
Okay.
So desert bighorn used to be very prevalent all over the Colorado Plateau.
Interesting.
Hearing that almost prompted me to ask you to tell the elephant at Irwin's story, but that's too long of a story.
Oh my God, do you want me to?
No, we've done it before.
I can make it fast. You want the really
Cliff's
fast
notes.
version?
Yeah.
Okay, really fast version. Raise your hand if you've done the Appalachian Trail. I'm not wearing my glasses. 3. Okay, great.
About 12.
Cody, you have not. Oh, you did part of it? From New Jersey, of course. Okay, that's my fiance's friend from college. But not really, but similar. Anyway, okay, Irwin, Tennessee. We know this town if we've done the AT. It's in Tennessee. Yeehaw. Anyway, so there was a traveling circus that would go through towns on railroads. Railroad went through Irwin, Tennessee. The guy that was the elephant musher, for lack of better words, was no longer there. He got a new job or just like wasn't there that day. Something happened. He wasn't there. Anyway, this young kid that like really wanted to like work with the elephants was like, tag me in, I want to do it. And they were like, okay, cool. You have no experience, but you've got gusto. And so they put him in, and in a break between the shows, they take the animals down to the water to like give them water. And this elephant is acting up, and he keeps taking his hook and trying to get it to behave. And the elephant had like seen a watermelon or something and was trying to go after it, and this guy didn't know. Anyway, elephant ended up stepping on the guy's head.
Which is bad.
Which is bad. And so then they were like, this elephant's convicted of murder. They brought him to the town court, and they were like, we've got to try and persecute this elephant. And they ended up deciding that the elephant should be hung. And they were having hard times figuring out what piece of equipment was strong enough to hang an elephant. And the first time they did it with the crane couldn't hold the weight. The elephant dropped, broke a bunch of bones. Very sad. Then they finally found a way to relift it up. I know, she's terrified. Relift it up and hang it properly, and then they buried it by the train yard. So that's the very quick version. Why was that relevant?
There was paintings of something that looked like an elephant in Moab.
Yes.
That just triggered that memory.
Mastodon panel.
So there you go.
There we go. Yeah.
I
Or the
love elephants.
Or the hung elephant, yeah.
Yeah, I love elephants, so that's sad. But Irwin history, they don't really like talking about that, obviously.
A sad chapter.
Northern New Mexico loop.
Another wonderful one, 'cause I love Northern New Mexico. That's a Brett Tucker special, for anyone familiar with Brett Tucker. It's not as well known as I noticed as the Grand Enchantment Trail or similar, but I loved connecting the landscape starting from Santa Fe and making the loop, because you really get to, unlike a traditional through hike where you're walking from A to B, this is just more of a loop, so you get to really see how the landscape changes and immerse yourself with it, whether going through the Rio Grande Gorge or the Pecos Wilderness. And I really do think Northern New Mexico is one of the best places in the world, and lots of green chili when you go through those little places. So
I do want to ask, green chili in Colorado versus green chili in New Mexico, which one do you take?
New Mexico.
Okay.
Green chili versus red chili.
Oh, I'm green all the way.
Same.
Hatch green chili is one of the best things in the world.
What about unhatched?
Doo-doo-ch.
On your website, you had a photo from Mount Wheeler Ridge that looked like stunningly similar, minus the volcanoes, obviously, to the many photos I've seen and taken from Goat Rock's Ridge. Just something about that, the color contrast between the green and the...
Oh, yeah. I remember, because I was at the summit just maybe an hour or so before sunset, so it was just some amazing color in the rocks. And I want to say that's the highest peak in New Mexico, if I remember correctly. Very southern end of the Rockies, and yeah, just stunningly beautiful.
Yeah. And you crossed the Rio Grande twice?
Yes. The first time going to Bandelier National Monument was pretty easy. I had an Intex pool toy and just used it like little waders and doggy paddled across, and it was great. Yeah, that's the very poor person's pack raft. The second time, and I'm not very tall, I'll be the first to admit it, but it's supposed to go up to your knees, so maybe calves for most people, I'm only 5'6". And I get there, and it was like a lot higher than I expected. And so I used my pack liner, made sure it was inflated as much as possible. I'm going back and forth like a dog, trying to look for... You ever see a nervous dog going back and forth over the water? That was me. And looking for it, so okay, the heck with it, I got to do it. So I inflated my bag as much as I could, and there's rapids just down there, and somehow I got across. And I'm not going to lie, my knee was shaking when I got over. And then I got a green chili burrito in the town. And my better half makes fun of me, because when I tell that story, most of the time, it was a little high, just went across, got a burrito, it was fine. And it was called Sheep Crossing. So the second crossing was interesting. But there's a burrito at the end, and again, green chili burritos are wonderful.
Logistically, how difficult is this trail?
I didn't find it very difficult. There's enough resupplies, and I don't remember it being anything overly hard. Okay. And if you're not keen on the water crossings, there's some alternate routes along roadwalks. And I should say it's a little different than when I did the trail. Brett rerouted it so it goes through different areas for land use reasons and such.
And we're going to end with this one because I want to get to your guys' questions, so please cook them up for us. We've got the audience mic here for you. But the Southeast Utah group, how do you abbreviate this one? What's the pronunciation?
Most people pronounce it SEUG.
SEUG, okay. The SEUG Surrogate, which was 2 years ago.
Yes, that started as a joke because I was starting a new gig, and Joan said, hey, before you start off, you should visit all the parks. So if you're familiar with the Mighty 5 campaign in Utah, that's all 5 of the national parks, Arches, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, Bryce, and Zion. And you meet people in Moab says, I'm doing all the parks. Well, there's 63 or 64, I figure we're up to. So it's becoming kind of a run job. I'm doing all the parks. And we said, how funny would it be to do all the parks before I start a new IT gig? And we joked about it. Then we looked at the water trail called the Colorado River. This just might work. So we looked at Google Earth, Kelsey guidebooks. If you're familiar with Kelsey, great resource, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we geeked out and plotted out a route because Joan is my partner in many ways. She loves looking at maps. So she's very much instrumental helping to plot out this route too. And we plotted out a route, 70 miles, pack rafting down the Colorado River, pop out at the Needles to connect that. We started in Arches, and go through dark canyon and Bears Ears. Okay, now let's work to natural bridges, cut through the town of Blanding, go through this canyon with some amazing Pueblo structures. Let's work over to Hovenweep. And between Neighbor, Natural Bridges, and Hovenweep was kind of interesting. So it was like going through transmission lines in one park. So you didn't want to road walk all of it, going through some obscure canyons. But what a wonderful way to connect the Southeast Utah landscape. And yeah, there's the 4 parks, part of the Southeast Utah group, but it was also connecting these BLM lands and Forest Service lands and just the landscape we call home. And to have this 250-mile pack rafting and backpacking jaunt no more than 2 or 3 hours from my house was just amazing. And if anything, it increased my appreciation for the area I call home. And I ended at Hovenweep National Monument, and I was greeted with cold Coke and burritos because my last water source, and I'm really bad about treating water, as I almost never treat it. I treated this stock tank water. That's how bad it was. And I was very dehydrated, quite frankly, by the end. Because even by my very low standards, this was disgusting water. So that cold Coke and that Maverick breakfast burrito, Maverick's a local Utah gas station, surprisingly good breakfast burritos. It was wonderful. And that's how I ended the trip.
Is Maverick like the Wawa of Utah?
It's a gas, as Wawa a gas station?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Are you not treating water just due to laziness, or because you feel like you've built up the stomach flora to handle anything that?
If I wanted to sound kick-ass, well, yes, I've built up, blah, blah, blah over many years. The real reason I'm just lazy.
How many times do you shit your pants?
None.
Ever?
I think I have a cast iron stomach. And a little lucky. This is absolutely true, swear to God.
Interesting.
Not a
There
real
is
thru-hiker. Can you
there's
believe
a
it?
macho subsection of non-water treaters who
I'm not.
claim to have stomachs of steel.
I think I'm just lucky, and I'm lazy, and God looks after fools. So there you go.
I do have a question about paddling. How do you craft the skill of getting ready to do like one of these long paddling trips? Like, were you going out and practicing beforehand, or is this a skill that you had acquired previously?
I think it's a lot like my ski touring. I just did it and you kind of hope for the
Trial
best.
by fire?
Yeah, pretty much. And again, that shows our 2 different philosophies. Joan is a scientist by training, so she wants to do measured ways of doing it. We went to a local reservoir called Ken's Lake and paddled around. Like, let's just do it. We'll go down the river. It'll be fine. And so and we kind of compromised. But when I did this longer one, I've done some pack rafting trips before, so it wasn't completely new. But I've never done anything that many days or that long as a paddle trip before.
What kind of rapids did you see?
There were more riffles. There was what's called the slide. It was maybe a class 1 or 2 on this trip. The really big rapids are Cataract Canyon, and we get down to what's called Spanish Bottom. It's the last of the flat water, and there's this big sign, caution, coming to Cataract Canyon. And you need superintendent of the National Park Service permission to go through here. And there's, class 3, 4, and even 5 rapids, depending upon the water year. So you make sure you take your exit ramp at Spanish Bottom, and that's the last of the flat water. And then from there, I just walked into the Needles and picked up I did what I call the reverse mail drop. I mailed out my pack rafting gear. Actually, a friend of ours who worked for the Park Service at the time picked up my pack rafting gear for me. And then I got my mail drop of food and everything.
What's your most embarrassing moment on any of these trips?
Most embarrassing moment. So my first time sleeping under the stars. And this is not a long hike, but it's after a long hike. So here I am, Mr. Macho thru-hiker, because I was young and stupid. Now I'm middle-aged and stupid. So I guess that's...
This age thing.
Yeah, I just accept it. It's all good. But my first time sleeping under the stars, and... we hike up there, and I'm a little on edge because I never slept under the stars before. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I see these eyes looking at me, like probably as close as you are to me. And I yell, "Ah!" And the bunny rabbit hopped away.
Aww.
So yes, I got done the Appalachian Trail by that point. I've done the Long Trail twice, and the bunny rabbit scared me.
That's really cute.
Had teeth like this. Monty Python fans out there.
Is that your scariest wildlife encounter?
The scariest, actually, was in my home state of Rhode Island on a day hike. A goshawk attacked me.
A what?
A goshawk.
Oh.
It's like a Cooper's hawk, but slightly bigger, and started dive bombing my head. Must have been near a nest.
Yeah.
And I'm running, waving my hiking sticks around, trying to ward it off. So I almost got talons put in my head. So that was pretty scary in the wilds of Rhode Island.
What part of you like wants to see what happens? Like, can it lift your weight? Probably not. So, like, what happens if it talons the head?
A lot of stitches with our great American healthcare system.
But you go home with a falcon?
Probably a torn scalp, lots of stitches, and medical debt that will cripple me for life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Make a cool tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had hair at the time, so, it'd really show up now.
Cool. Do you have any moments on trail that you just like tuck in the back of your mind and you say, I never want to share this with anyone ever?
And will you share it now?
Yeah.
Not to spell it out, but yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I really regret or...
Like this one goes down with the ship.
No, I'm pretty honest about all my fuck ups and whatever else I've done in my life, and for better or worse, it's made me who I am. I honestly can't think of anything. I've misplaced myself. I've fallen. I've taken wrong canyons. I really can't think of anything that I'd be embarrassed to say, because I do make mistakes even now. I mean, anyone who's experienced, all an experienced person means is that you made a lot of mistakes and hopefully learn from them, and you haven't died, so you're going to make new ones. So I'm going to make lots of mistakes going forward. I'm sure of it.
What's your most recent mistake?
My most recent mistake.
Coming on this podcast.
Yeah, no, this is great.
That's what they all say.
Most recent mistake. Trying to think. Probably, multiple times I forgot my sleeping pad.
That's funny. I know someone else who's done that.
And it didn't happen once or twice, but it's happened multiple times. So I'm like, yeah. So I just sleep on the backpacks. Happened once in December, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's not great.
Just drink more rum.
Yeah. It works better if you shame another thru-hiker into giving their pad to you.
Yeah, like a current year thru-hiker when you're just backpacking for a weekend.
I just used my pad and Jones'
as
pad. I'm sorry, the backpack. So I slept on 2 backpacks and some extra clothing. And
where'd you get the second backpack?
I was with my backpacking partner.
Cool.
One time I had to do duff, but it works out.
Okay. We do this thing on Backpacker Radio. Fuck, marry, kill. Are you familiar with the concept?
Say that again?
Fuck, marry, kill. So one, you're fornicating. It's a good night. One you want for the rest of your life. And the other one, you're gone. Sorry.
I'm not familiar with this expression.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you 3 options. You're going to have to assign one of those to each of the following 3. Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. Which one do you fuck? Which one do you marry?
Yeah.
Which one do you kill?
Well, it's a 4 corners area. So to me, state lines are artificial. So I'm cheating here. And I readily, I'll have to say, I never go north of I-70 in Utah. So fuck north of I-70 in Utah.
Okay.
No, but fuck means you're having like sweet, sensual
That's killing.
sex with it.
He's using killing for fuck.
You want to kill.
He's mixing the fuck and the kill.
That's
we all do.
That's actually what I'm telling him, believe it or not. That was what I was saying.
It's such a multi-purpose word. Ever see The Wire? That very famous scene? Fuck. Yeah. So it's a very good word.
So you're going to kill that spot.
Yeah, north of I-70 in Utah.
Which one are you going to make sweet, sweet love to only one time?
New Mexico.
Okay. Why?
It's a land of enchantment.
Oh, okay.
Need I say more?
I had to ask because I heard Garrett chuckle on his own over there for some reason. Okay, and which one are you going to marry, spend your life with?
Oh. No, I left Colorado, so I had divorced Colorado.
You haven't even married any of them.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't make the joke about plural marriage. Never mind. I'm going to stop right there.
You do live in Utah, actually. Loophole.
He's marrying all 3. Settled.
I'm a very ex-Catholic, so I don't know if that applies.
Yeah. Okay. Our last question. This is our peak performance question presented by Topo Athletic. Use code TREKSPRING15 at topoathletic.com to get a 15% discount. What is your top performance enhancing or backpacking hack?
Organize. The biggest gift for any backpacker is not gear or clothing. It's the gift of time. And when you're organized, you can really use that gift of time. If you get laid off and you have 3 weeks to go backpacking, you can just turn around and go on a trip just like that. It's happened to me in the past. And going with that, I would say, is a base level fitness. That's part of being organized. Don't get in shape on the trail. Just be ready to go when you get that gift of time. So organization and taking care of yourself so you can enjoy your time in the outdoors is just amazing.
Beautifully said. PMags, let people know where they should go to keep up with you, whatever you want to plug here. I know you've got a book.
Yeah, I think my mom bought a copy at least, That was when I got out of IT for a while. I was approached to write a book and got paid for it, which I'm still amazed someone paid me to write. But so I delved into a little freelance writing and stuff, and I wrote a beginner's backpacking book back in 2019. Then COVID hit, and I went back to my IT roots. But you can find me much social media as PMags Co., which used to stand for PMags Colorado, but no longer there, so know what it stands for now. So Instagram, Facebook, etc., PMags Co., and my website, pmags.com.
I have one last question.
Yeah. Please.
This one's not relevant to anything. This goes back to a conversation we had in the car on the way over here. But you mentioned being an IT guy several times, which was topical for our private conversation. Would you describe yourself as a nerd, a geek, a dork, or a dweeb?
None of the above, because IT is a trade to me. It's how I pay for my hiking.
Okay.
It's just a trade job. Though I do have some geek roots. I don't know if I'm truly a geek. When I was 12, I watched Star Trek a lot.
Same.
And I still get very excited. Brave New Worlds, new season's coming out. So
my best friend's mom is named Nancy, and every time she would walk into our room, we'd say, "That's not Nancy," because it was, you know. If you don't know, watch Star Trek. Anyway, okay, that's my question.
PMags, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio. You are a legend, and this has been a long time in the making.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
Definitely are. Yes. Give it up for PMags, everyone. Should we take a potty break? Go to questions? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so we are going to do some listener questions. So if you guys have anything you want to ask to our fine PMags, we're going to start a little queue up line on the stairs, and you can come up and ask your question, and he can answer. We are going to do a quick, $5 for the bathroom. I'm going to try to race all of you guys there because you've had ample opportunity. So see you in 5.
Settle down with me by Someone sets light to the first fire.
So I left him, I'm like, why? And he said, not every Wawa has a gas station. Every Wawa I've been to is a gas station.
Yeah, the Mav, it is definitely a gas station.
It is.
And
It's just very sentimental about them.
they're LDS owned,
Okay.
and it's very Utah, and some would argue the LDS church is really a business that happens to be a church. And they dialed in their marketing, where adventure begins, and they have decent quality food. They strategically put the Mavs at junctions.
That was great, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think compared to the ones we do in the studio, they're usually way longer, but more difficult to get on, so we've got 80 people watching. And I also do want to leave time for questions, so I think we're going to jump to that.
I'll make up the answers.
Yeah, that's all we do. All right, guys, we're going to jump back into the podcast here, so if you're talking, we're going to kick you out. Caroline, you have to leave. Nothing.
Zach's being mean dad.
Yeah, if anyone didn't get any raffle tickets, Caroline right here will hook
This
you up.
is an honor policy type thing. If you win 4 things, we'll know you're lying. If you have questions for PMags, come up over here and line up. We have time for a couple questions from people, and if no one comes up, that's going to be weird. So if you have a question, thought, mind in your head, and you want to ask one, beep, boop, pop.
I also got some insider intel about how to win the crowd over.
Oh, really? How do we do it?
Praise God and hook 'em horns.
Oh.
More laughs than cheers, but it works.
Which team is the horns?
Come on. Chunks, your body is the colors of the
Guys,
team.
I'm hearing all these boos as moos, and I told you to say moo, so if anything, you're encouraging me. The Texans?
The Texas Longhorns is the football team, or the...
And that's college.
Yeah, it's Texas, University
Right.
of Texas.
Because the
Austin.
Texans are the NFL.
The Texans are the NFL, that's right.
Yeah.
And
But
the
that's not
Cowboys.
the Hook'ems.
No, the Longhorns
the
is the
Hook'ems are
University
the-
of Texas, Austin.
Guys, I went to SUNY Oswego. That's a state school in New York that is on Lake Ontario in the middle of, like, north of the wall Game of Thrones. we didn't have football. We had hockey, and all of our hockey players came over from Canada. So like, there's no bone in my body that understands anything collegiate level football. So, laugh with me, not at me, please.
I think we got a question. Yeah, come on up
Natalie.
here, grab the
Natalie?
microphone.
Natasha, fuck. Tasha. I got the N.
That's cool. Everyone, hey, I got Tanya before, so.
Okay.
Fine. Does this work?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay.
You can take it down.
Surprised this didn't come up during the show, but do you have any poop stories that you'd like to
Oh,
share?
Thank you.
That's a thing on the podcast.
I cater in the bathroom.
We got a regular listener here.
Yeah, so what I've noticed is that, especially back in the day when we did the thru-hiker diet of Little Debbie's, I noticed the consistency, and it was different, shall we say. So it went out a lot quicker, and so, and the color changes too.
Oh.
Yeah, so
What colors? What
more
colors?
of observations than a story. So
Okay. What colors did you see?
dark brown at times to the light brown.
Pistachio.
Any green? No green?
When I was younger, I drank a lot of grape Kool-Aid. I had green poo, so.
I ate a whole thing of green icing once when I was like 5, and yeah, I remember that. So
But nothing so super dramatic about poo stories, I'm afraid.
Wait, what did it look like when you ate a bunch of green icing?
it was super green. It
Did
was
you
like
shit the Hulk?
yeah, basically a little 5-year-old poop, Hulk poop, I guess. But yeah, it was green.
Love it.
It's kind of
That's my question.
maybe
Thank you.
maybe
Thanks,
we do
Natasha.
a green
Appreciate you.
icing eating contest at Trail Days.
Woo! A lot easier to execute compared to a dunk tank. I can say
Yeah,
that
I
much.
just really want to dunk.
I think we've got another question.
Hi. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hi. So my husband and I are going to hike the Appalachian Trail, leaving
Ooh.
southbound in about a month and a half,
Fantastic.
a little under 2 months. So my question is, what gear do you recommend sharing versus bringing on your own for a period of time for that long?
This is a husband?
Husband.
That-
We have already decided we are doing our own tents. Like, that is just something we have decided for smell and comfort. Yeah, other things, like we go back and forth about a stove or things that you can share, but
That
would love to hear your
is a fantastic question because backpacking partners is different from backpacking as a couple. And that's something I had to learn. And that's an adjustment in gear. So we do share a tent because that's a hack to save weight.
Yeah.
I totally get because
Yeah. No, I'm curious as a minimalist what you share and what you don't.
we take one stove.
Okay.
We use one pot with, one's essentially a bowl that's a glorified, a pot that's a glorified bowl in some ways. So we do have one stove. We do share the tent. I'm trying to think what else. That's pretty much it, sharing the stove and the tent. What I find, though, it's not so much about the gear, it's the system, thinking about how to share the gear, what works out well. Are you going to hike ahead and wait at junctions? How are you going to share the maps? How are you going to share, the different information waypoints? And that was a big adjustment for me, hiking as a couple. I've certainly hiked with friends in the past and partners, even for a week at a time, but hiking as a couple was it was a learning curve for both of us.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most wonderful, rewarding things I've done in recent years. And the fact you're able to thru-hike with your husband,
Well, we have to do it first. But
no, I have faith. You are going to do it, and I
excited.
think this is going to make some awesome memories for you.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say the gear is less important than thinking about your system, and it's compromised, not in a bad way, because you're two adults who've lived your life, and you're going to have to think about what is it going to make so this partnership works well together. You may want to stay in town less. He may want to stay in town more. I don't know. Do you want to hike with friends you make along the way, or do you need couple time? In the past, I hiked with a couple, and just to be bluntly honest, we'd leave the hotel room we were sharing to give them some couple time together. So just those little logistics, and it's both hard that you're compromising as two adults, but it can be some wonderful, rewarding, awesome memories you'll make.
We're excited.
I have the thought too.
Okay. Yeah, I want to hear from
Don't share your water filter.
Okay.
Because you'll probably be hiking at different paces throughout the day, and
No
you have
filter.
to
I
wait
don't
at
do
water.
filter.
Water sources is hard. Don't listen to him. Don't share your water filter. Is he bringing a tent that's big enough for you to get into it?
We both have 2-person.
Okay.
Well, we both have 2-person.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll watch my mouth.
It's fine.
If you can fit in his, I would say it's nice to have your own tent because then you never feel tied to having
Yeah.
to camp where he is, and that's important. But if he hikes faster than you, which for me, any situationship has always hiked faster due to my height, but it's nice to get to camp and have a tent already set up. And then
true.
what you can do as your part is you can boil the water for dinner. You know, like he sets up the tent, you boil the water. And what happened for me was my tent hardly got touched until I needed it, until we were on stretches where we weren't together. But man, is there no better feeling than getting to camp and seeing the tent's already set up? Like that rocks. And then you can be like, I'll do dinner, and you can heat up the water for that. But yeah, just because you're doing different tents doesn't mean you need to sleep in different tents every night.
Too.
Let him keep the love alive. Where are you? Where's your hand? There you are. Set up the tent.
Maybe I'll set up the tent because I might be faster than him.
Yeah, if you're faster than him, you set up the tent and then you make the dinner.
That was very sexist of you, Charles.
If I'm nothing else, I'm sexist. I'm just kidding.
You're hiking southbound?
Mm-hmm.
So also, once you get past the northbound bubble, you probably have a lot of shelters to yourselves
Yeah.
on like non-weekends.
Yeah.
So if you find that you like sleeping in shelters, you can maybe get rid of one of the tents if you're not using it that
Yeah.
often. That's
Yeah.
an easy place to save some weight.
How tall are you?
5'8".
How tall are you? Yeah, you guys might hike at pretty similar paces. Okay. Is she? Okay, then you might be setting up the tent, which is great for you.
Then he has to sleep with me. I don't know. We'll see.
My other advice is that it's a spectrum too. It's evolving. You may find out what works well for one time of the year or moods. So just be open to different things, and nothing's set in stone. It's all about having fun, and I wouldn't be dogmatic about it. Just do what works, enjoy it, and enjoy the journey overall.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
You guys gotta make friends too. And like one of the funnest things on the AT for me was that we would have nights in my tent that were girls' nights, where if we had reception out of town and we could download a movie, we would do that, and then we'd have a girls' night in the tent, and we'd watch like a chick flick, and then we'd go back to our own tents, and that was real nice. So having your own tent is really good.
I think we got another one.
I'm going to be a little redundant. You beat me to the punch, but got him good and warmed up for another round of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm going to try to have a little bit of fun with this. But
What's your name first?
Brent.
Brent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Costco gear, hiking to historical monuments or historical related areas, and trail related writing or blogging.
Good question.
Ooh. Marry the trail-related blogging, because that's what I've been doing for 20 plus years now. We don't have a Costco near us. That's an easy kill. There's no cost. We live in hours away from the nearest Costco. That's an easy kill. And what was the other one?
The hiking to historical monuments.
So that would be, yes, definitely.
You're gonna do well with
Long
that?
and deep and hard, and yeah.
We
wanted to make
always
sure.
have a tame guest until we do a Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Long and deep. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And Zach, have you ever hiked the AT?
Cheers, guys.
You guys know what to do. Social. Yeehaw. Yeehaw, guys.
Any more questions? Okay. We will jump into the segments if that's the case. I'll go quickly through the Trek propaganda. I won't go into this beyond the title, but the ATC head, Sandy Mara, announces her retirement. We do have plans to get her on the podcast here shortly, so we'll get much more on that. I'm going to skip this news story, and I want to bring up this last one by Katie Jackson. You've heard that name quite a bit if you listen to the podcast. Thru-hikers consistently say these are the 7 best sections of the AT. I'm not going to actually give it to you. The person who can correctly guess number 1 gets an extra raffle ticket. So, Caroline, we're going to get the correct answer here. Who can guess the most popular section of the AT according to our 2024 AT Thru-hiker survey? You can just yell it out. That's not it. It's a good guess. Not it. Good guess.
No.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
You raised your hand back there. No, not the whites. Good job, Garrett. I love you.
Shenandoah, getting closer geographically.
No.
That's
Close,
nope.
close,
That's not it.
No, close, close,
Getting
close,
close. We're getting close.
Maryland.
Nope.
You're not playing. Keep going. You keep going because you were literally almost there. You got one of the words right.
There it is. All
Where's the
right.
hand? Do you
What's
want here?
The Rhode Highlands was the answer.
Oh, we gave him.
Yeah.
I was like,
According
you
to
can have a beer.
thru-hikers, and he gets a raffle
Rhone,
ticket.
R-O-A-N.
Yeah, Rhode Highlands was cited as the favorite section according to 2024 AT.
I'm sorry, that sounds rigged. I mean,
Also-
over New England.
I will
I'm sorry.
say, fun fact about Rhode Highlands, it's a very probable spot to see a double rainbow. If you've never seen one and you want to see one, it's also a very probable spot to see a rainbow circle, like a full circle rainbow. And
How many mushrooms are you doing out there?
I'm reading a lot of history books. And it's also a very probable spot to hear like wailing noises, like mysterious far off yelling sounds. There's a lot of stories and haunted tales about that. So a lot of spooky stories about the Rhode Highlands.
Fun
There
fact.
you go.
Today's question of the day is, what's a hill you're willing to die on that has nothing to do with hiking? We'll start with our guest, yeah.
Oh, I think I texted actually asked that. So I am of the firm belief that nothing to do with hiking. So I grew up in New England, lots of blizzards, and cultural background. You need to have a fully stocked kitchen. You never know when a blizzard's going to come over. You never know you're going to have house gas when you need to whip up a meal. And it's very, 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 very important to have that fully stocked kitchen. It's something. May I tell a story?
Please.
All right. My buddy told me the story. He went to my grandmother's funeral, and he helped me move. And like many elderly women, I gave her a call before I moved to Colorado, and I said, Grandma, I'm coming over because I stored all my stuff in our basement. My buddy Tim's helping me move, the same one from earlier in the show. And just give her a heads up because you don't want an elderly woman having two strange men show up unannounced. And we're downstairs loading up boxes before we moved to Colorado, and she says, boys, come up for lunch. And my buddy looks at me like, what? Just go with it, Tim. And we get up there, and there's ravioli, sausage and peppers, a frittata. And Tim's like, how does she do this? No idea, Tim. It's just magic. And when he went to the funeral a few years later, because all my friends, we go to the different funerals and make sure the friendship stays strong, he talked about that story. And so I have inherited that. So whenever we have house guests coming from Colorado into Moab or wherever, we make sure we have a fully stocked kitchen because you never know. We have to make some ravioli, sausage and peppers, and a frittata for house guests at the last moment. So fully stocked kitchen, and living in Utah with what they call the LDS closet fits in very culturally too.
PMags, I'm going to say you're a real Italian.
Again, it depends who you talk to. Some of my friends from Italy would say, you're kind of a fake Xerox copy.
You just said you had friends in Italy.
Classic
I
Italian.
actually do, yeah.
How many non-Italians say that sentence?
People in France, maybe?
Mine's not as good, so I don't want to go next. Chance has to follow that.
Okay. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know my tried and true one for this is that roundabouts should be on driver's tests. I think the number of people that don't know how to properly use a roundabout is atrocious and really makes me mad. Yeehaw. But for the lack of doing the same thing twice, I've got three. I've got like Goldilocks style. I've got light, medium, and heavy. Which one do we want?
Heavy.
Okay.
Just go for it. Just.
I think not to do with backpacking. I think
Moon landing was faked.
imagine. I think the older you get, as someone who's 33, I'm in the prime position of my life to give advice to those older than me. I think you should spend your money on things you want to spend your money on. I think a lot of people want to save their money to pass down to their kids or to make sure they don't run out and all this stuff. And like, I'm going through this with my parents right now. Part of me saying this is to like closet put it in my dad's ears. I'm talking to you, Dad. Like, hire someone to do shit that you don't want to do anymore. For example, my dad is on a roof constantly. Should he be? Probably not. But we keep finding him on the roof and dragging trees out of the backyard and doing things that maybe he shouldn't be doing at this point in his life because he does not want to give up the things he's always done. I understand that. I'm very stubborn too. But how much does it really cost to pay a high school kid or a local in town to come over for 3 hours a week and do a bunch of shit for you that you like want to do but maybe shouldn't, while you sit on the back deck with a Jenny Cream ale and watch them and just tell them what to do, right? That's my current week's hill to die on. But I think for me, it's very hard to convince, and probably you guys can agree too, it's very hard to convince my parents to spend their money on themselves. They've spent their whole life, especially coming from poverty and coming from a family that came over on the boat from Italy, conserving and saving and being very frugal and doing all that stuff. And like, they've built a nice nest egg. And if they've taught us, their children, things the right way, they shouldn't have to necessarily leave us as much as they think they do, because we should already be making the right decisions. They should be using that to make their own lives easier in this point in time. And so the current hill that I'm actually actively dying on is just spend your money on yourself. Like, stop worrying about us, spend your money on yourself, do little things to make your life easier. It doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you less capable or able. It's just like, damn, you have that money. Why don't you use it to like make your life a little bit easier? So that's we went for the hard one. We went for the heavy one. That's my current hill that I am actively dying on, is like, where else is it going? It's going to go to us after like the bad stuff happens, right? But you could also use it now and make your life a lot more joyous. So, Die with Zero, that's a book everyone should read.
That segment can also be called Dad.
We could really have a whole segment called Dad. Boy, do I have more.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the light one.
But he listens. He plays this podcast on the big speakers that circulate throughout the house, to the point that when we go home for Christmas, I have to tell him on Mondays, like, Dad, we can't do this. Like, I can't hear my voice on surround sound from every room in the house. Like, this hurts. If you ever listen to your own voice, it's painful.
He's got such a good playlist, too. He can...
Yeah.
There's way less punishing things for the ears.
I'm like, watch it when I leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I know he's listening. That's my current hill. Dad, hire someone. Get off the roof.
Dad. Yeah, I'm going to go with the light one. The crowd that says you don't put ketchup on hot dogs can fuck off.
Who says that?
A lot of people. A lot of people are like mustard only, maybe
No.
onion, relish.
No.
Is there anyone here that thinks you shouldn't put ketchup on a hot dog? Yes. Look at this.
Stop
in
it.
this room. In this room.
Line up and tell me why.
I understand. Listen, if we're going pure Chicago style dog, I can get by without the ketchup. But like, if we're just doing a dog on the grill, I want ketchup and I want mustard and I want it in my body as fast as possible.
That's part of, ever see the classic, one of those classic Dirty Harry movies? He tipped off the hot dog person that something bad was going down. She put a bunch of ketchup on the hot dog. Clint Eastwood bid on it. And by tasting the ketchup, and I see some nods out there, by tasting the ketchup in the hot dog, he knew something wasn't right. Remember, who's seen the movie? It's part of the scene.
Wait, can I get another hands up for the hot dogs without ketchup, people?
A lot. It's like a good
What do
15,
you
20%
put
of the
on
room.
your hot dog? What? Where do you find them when you're in proximity of a hot dog? No mustard, no sauce. Are you a dry food or a wet food person? I'm a dry food. That checks out.
All right, I want the input from Gorilla, the namesake for the Gossamer Gorilla,
Woo!
to weigh in on why you can't put... You come up on the stage and give us the mic. Chicago's dog. Okay. So the Chicago dog is mustard, onion, relish, sport peppers, celery salt, tomato, thank you. And not relish, pickles spears. Yeah.
It kind of sounds like you need a lot of stuff
It's
on
a lot of
there to
stuff.
compensate
Yeah.
for a lack of one ingredient.
Wait a minute. Isn't ketchup at its heart tomatoes?
Yes. So
At its
you're
heart.
definitely getting the ketchup element with the diced tomatoes.
Yeah.
Great point.
Is this mine or yours?
It's all good.
It's
I was gonna ask, are you drinking that one right there? Because if you're not, I will.
No, do you want it?
I need
Well,
it.
this one is ours because Garrett said when I compared Wawa to that gas station that we're no longer engaged.
Okay.
So
Well,
I can go back to hitting on our
step
married
in for
guest.
the moment. Yeah,
He's not even listening.
but very affectionately, fuck off.
Yeah.
I like ketchup on my hot dogs.
Nothing better than a like nice line of ketchup, a nice line of mustard, and then giving it a good rotation in the bun. Yeehaw! Can I get a yeehaw? Yeah, I like that.
You can put anything on a hot dog. I don't care.
What, a cheese dog's good.
In San Diego, they have a thing called Sonoran dogs where they put cream cheese around it and then wrap it with bacon.
Where does the cheese go in a cheese dog?
Cream
Not to sound
cheese.
dumb. Cody, where's the cheese in a cheese dog go? Is it on top? Oh.
Yeah, Sonoran dogs
Cool.
do rock.
Then there's currywurst. Anyone familiar with that from Germany? They were dirt poor, so you have French fries, American hot dogs, ketchup, and curry powder from the British troops.
Oh.
So
Wow.
apparently the Germans think hot dogs and ketchup and curry powder is a great thing.
Okay.
We learned this in New York from my father when we went to the Bills game, which is that buffalo wings, go Bills, used to be like a poor person's food.
Yeah. And when we were there, that was definitely not the case.
Not the case.
Not a poor person's food.
So
But
tune into
delicious.
Backpacker Radio Foodcast.
Yeah, this is our food segment.
Yeah. We do have a stupid thing of the week.
Yeah. Is
Sean's
anyone,
edition.
like, does anyone here actually listen to the podcast enough to know the segments? Cool. I'm glad you guys didn't all just find your way in here, but there wasn't more than one yeah, so I'm not convinced. This is thing of the week. We put the blank before the thing because it could be the stupidest, the smartest, the dumbest.
It's never been the smartest thing of the week. That's never happened.
Well, neither of us are one to brag. But I have a stupidest thing of the week. This is my phone. It's new. It's larger than I'm used to, so it's really hard to get my thumb across to hit all the buttons. I'm still learning. It doesn't have a pop socket, so I don't know how to hold it. But I went to a bachelorette in Miami last week, and my phone is at the bottom of the Atlantic. And that sounds cool. But what actually happened was that we were boarding the boat in the boat garage, which like has a roof like this. And I held my phone with the pop socket when I got on the boat because I thought, that would suck. And I got on the boat, and then we had done all our, boat check things. We were about to take off. And so I went to walk around to the front of the boat where the nice laying out areas are. And this is a bachelorette of like 13. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I walk over there first, selfishly, I'll be able to put a towel down and actually lay out. And then other people are going to have to just sit. My eye on the prize. Anyway. In that process, I grabbed my sunscreen, I grabbed my water bottle, I grabbed my towel, I grabbed my phone, I grabbed my fanny pack. I had everything right here, grabbed a drink from the cooler, and I go to walk around to the front of the boat, and I feel something slip. And my phone slipped down the towel, bounced, and fell off the boat. And I just stood there looking at it, and like the thought in my mind, and I told my mom this on the phone, the thought in my mind was, if I jump in right now, I can literally pick it up. But the owner of the boat, who had just gone through the whole spiel of don't flush toilet paper in the toilet, and the guy that just took a $500 deposit were standing on either side of me. And so in my mind, I was like, if I jump off this boat in the marina to get a phone out of like dirt water, are they going to be thrilled with me, or am I going to get in trouble from the bride? So I stood there for like a second in paralyzed mode and just watched it sink, like Rose with the necklace when she just, and I just watched it go. And the guy that owned the boat looked at me. He was like, well, if you'd like, next Monday we can send out a scuba diver to go retrieve it from the bottom. And me, just like without a filter, was like, why? Literally, why? There's no point. It's going to be dead. It's fine. Whatever. So I had to go get a new phone that day in Miami. This is a Miami phone. That's my dumbest thing of the week is I was fingers on the pop socket all day, and then I got complacent for a second, and now my phone is at the bottom of the Atlantic, which is a better way of saying at the bottom of a bay under a boat garage. So.
You said bachelorette party. The listener's thinking, how drunk were you?
Sober. We just got on the boat. We woke up and we just got on the boat.
You You're supposed to show up to the boat feeling nice.
Yeah, but you know me. My wake up protocol is I will wake up 15 minutes before I need to be where I need to be.
True.
They all did breakfast. I don't eat eggs or yogurt. I'm not going to breakfast.
Yeah.
I will see you later. I'm sleeping. So I woke up, got to the checkpoint, took the Uber, got to the boat, got on the boat, said hello to everyone I didn't see at breakfast, and then just tossed my phone.
Yeah.
So
Good. I do have I do have one more long lost segment. I guess we've been doing this a fair amount of late, but gross or not gross, for those who are familiar, fairly obvious what it is. So last weekend I was out for 5 or 6 hours, absolutely charred my lips. Every year I have to relearn that you have to put chapstick on your lips in order to not just have the most chapped lips of all time. I'll get it one of these years. But we were out at a bar later that day, and on the ground in the parking lot, I found a stick of chapstick.
sad.
Let me caveat this because I know what you're thinking, and you're close. You're pretty close. I did scrape off the first like ½ inch of the chapstick, and then I went for it. Gross or not gross? No one's on my side here.
So ½ an inch is like that. Did he really scrape off that much chapstick before he used it?
Oh, I definitely did. I like literally pushed it up as
Okay.
far as it would
Yeah,
go,
and
and like took my thumb and pushed
With
it
my
off.
trekking pole, I digged an 6-inch hole.
Wait, what?
With my trekking pole, I digged a 6-inch hole.
Good.
Like
Nice.
the cat holes.
Yeah.
How they say that.
Yeah.
So is
We
that
got
about
it.
is that about ½ an inch?
Yeah, I would say it's about a ½ inch.
So you scraped off that much?
Yeah, literally, like
Okay.
I pushed it like that and then just pushed it off. I wasn't gonna risk it.
Of course not.
By the way, this is from my dentist that I use. Thank you. Yeah.
Wait, I get all my chapstick from my dentist. Every time I go there, I take like 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And she lets me, and I'm like, this is taking money off my bill.
I never thought I'd have the experience of 70 people that I've never met telling me that I'm gross, and it's actually kind of satisfying. I enjoy
But that's
that.
one
So
of
thank
your
you,
that's
guys.
one of your more calm gross or not grosses.
Yeah, no, I thought for sure there would be at least a few people on my side there, but no, not a single person. All right, thank you. All right, good.
Quote Mr. Rogers, "We love you just the way you are."
Yeah, no, I mean, I would do it again regardless of how people thought about it, but I'm glad that people are on board. Okay.
Do you still wait? Here's the question.
Yeah.
Do you still have the chapstick?
Probably. Why would I throw it away after doing all that hard work?
Do you still use the chapstick?
I don't know. The chapstick that I brought was empty when I took it out now, so I think it melted through one of my pairs of pants. So if anyone's got any chapstick, I will gladly use it. I'll go a ½ inch deep and push it off.
Okay.
Welcome to Backpack Radio PMags.
No.
We're having fun. Okay, Triple Crown. Everyone knows this segment. I wanted to do this one because...
Garrett just said this is the segment I like. You said like. Anyway, continue.
This one's a little bit broad, but we're doing the Triple Crown of trail towns, and specifically I wanted to pull PMags in because he's done so many unique trails, so I'm curious to pick his brain on the best trail towns on some of the lesser known trails. He can take it any direction that he'd like, but if you want to start, go ahead.
So I'll start with one that's relatively well known: CDT, American Discovery Trail and Colorado Trail, Leadville. I love Leadville because it still has that little bit of a grit of a Colorado mining town. It's not completely. You can buy the expensive fleeces there, but overall,
With appointments.
it still has that little bit of a grit of an old mining town. It's just so beautiful there too. My second.
Oh,
no, that's not how that
So we
works.
do a draft. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
Snake draft.
Yeah, you got to hold the second one because I
Oh.
might take it, even though you sent it to me and I won't take it.
Oh, okay.
But I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
agree, Leadville, I want to go for the ski joring.
Yes, that's pretty cool.
Those girls look badass. I met someone who is a horse rider, and I brought it up to her, and she was like, those are my friends. And I wanted to go home with her from the bar. Sorry, Garrett. Okay, Garrett. Zach.
My first one. So I intentionally wanted to pick towns that weren't ATPCT because I feel like we've probably done this in the past, even though I didn't fact check that at all. So I was going with stuff that's a little bit off the beaten path. But the first one that came to mind for me was from the TRT, the Tahoe City. Specifically walking in off the Truckee River, which is beautiful. You got nice bars and restaurants right off of Lake Tahoe there. Shout out to Fat Cat. I should also preface this by saying it's impossible to separate a place from the experience. I was there with like a really good friend, so I had an amazing time there. If I went back by myself, maybe I'd feel differently about it. But subjectively speaking, Tahoe City is my first pick.
My first pick, I couldn't really veer too far from bigger known trails because on some of the smaller ones, we just didn't go to town. Like the Ozark Highlands Trail, we didn't go to town at all. So I'm going to go with some more well-known ones, but this is a Colorado Trail / CDT stop-off, which is Salida.
It's on my list.
Yeah, interesting town. Apparently the way you say it in Spanish is Salida, means exit, but the town prefers Salida, so you got to know that going into it. But it's a big rafting town. So if you like to do off-trail excursions or activities or things like that where you just get a mini adventure in on your way, Salida is a great place to do some rafting and to do some water activities. It's also the new home camp of Catabatic. I feel like other gear companies are going there as well. I just see it being something that is slowly growing and getting bigger. And I think if you're on a trail and you have the chance to spend a 0 day or two in Salida, do it now because it's definitely growing. And then you can be that curmudgeon that's like, I was there before it got like this. But it's a really cool town.
So former Backpack Radio video person Leah lives in Salida. Our former stand-in managing editor Owen lives in Salida, and recent guest Maytal lives in Salida. So yeah, the word's out in the thru-hiking community for sure.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to former guest Robbie Ballinger. He opened a restaurant there recently called Shivano. I haven't been there, but I've seen really good reviews on it. He's not paying us for
So
this.
this is just like a backpacker radio town.
It kind of is, yeah. So it's
Cool.
the official town of Backpacker Radio is
Cool.
Salida, but yeah, if you guys heard the episode with Robbie Ballinger, he just opened a restaurant there, so kudos to him. PMags, now you get 2. So it's a snake draft, so we go in a snake formation, so you get 2 picks now.
So I get to say 2 of the trail towns. That
Yeah.
I like. Okay. So the second one is from the northern New Mexico loop, is Taos, because I think Taos is one of the most amazing towns. It has fantastic food, fantastic history, beautiful scenery. It's kind of a cheat calling it a trail town, but it is on Brett Tucker's route as a resupply stop. And I've been to Taos many times over the years, and I just never tire. It's been far too long since I've been back there. And the resupply, while walking through New Mexico and going to this amazing town with 1,000-year history, quite literally, with this amazing scenery, and northern New Mexico cuisine is some of the best in the world. And it just makes an awesome resupply stop.
Love it. I've heard nothing but good things. I've never been.
And
Yeah, you get your last one too.
so my other, and I'm very biased with this one, Moab. It's off the Hayduke. It's off 2 of the self-created routes, or 3 self-created routes I did at this point. And it's just an amazing place. And a little fun fact, I live less than 300 feet from the Hayduke Trail. You'll see the uniform, is the different lightweight backpacks and trail runners and sun hoodies, and they're walking down the road that's 300 feet from my house, and there they go off to Cane Creek. So it is a trail, very literally a trail town for me, because I see people biking back from work or what have you, and I'm very biased. I happen to love the town I call home, and so it is my absolute favorite trail town at this point.
Are you volunteering to Trail Angel people that are starting?
I'm too much of a curmudgeon at this point.
Fair.
I've done it like sporadically. I've actually seen Hayduke hikers at the post office. Are you hiking the Hayduke? Yeah. Do you need a place to go? So it's very sporadic trail angeling, more very unofficial.
Yeah, good. Fair. Same.
Just to echo quickly back to my hot take, which was my parents need to spend money on making their life more convenient.
Dad.
They also live in the fun trail town of Northville via the Northville Placid Trail. This is not relevant to this segment, but it made me think of it. If you're hiking the Northville Placid Trail and you're interested in like a room for stay and doing some like light yard work, julianachauncey@gmail.com. I would love to let you stay at my parents' house.
And you can
have
see
do
all
some
of
manual labor.
Chaunce's middle school and high school photos. It's worth the price of admission, I guarantee.
The ugly duckling phase was really long and ugly. Anyway, my next one is going to be Sonora.
Ooh.
Sonora is a town off of Sonora Pass. So right after you get out of the Sierras in like the JMT or the PCT, usually you get off Sonora Pass, and I feel like we always go east. Like we always go down into Lone Pine, or we go down into Bishop. Like we always take the eastern exit. Now where I work for my day job, the one that I love, which is also a blessing and a curse, because it'd be much easier to go hiking if I hated my job, but I don't. Anyway, if you go down Sonora Pass the other way to the west, there's a cute little town named Sonora, and I've spent a ton of time there for work because it's part of my territory, and I had never known it was there. Like when we went to Sonora Pass and left Sonora Pass, it was from the east both times. But if you go down it to the west, there is a really cute, charming town. It's got a really cute main street. And I think if you're not in a super rush, try going down the west side of the mountain.
Love it. My last two. One is, this is basically just a shout out to a restaurant that I like so much that I'm adding it to the list, is Waitsfield, Vermont, from the Long Trail. Someone sent me, I put out like the Instagram question on my account when I was hiking it, looking for recommendations on like local stuff to check out. And someone sent me a text or a DM that said, get a heady topper at the Mad Taco, which I thought was going to end in like a venereal disease or something like that. Turns out the Mad Taco is a Mexican restaurant off of the Mad River in Waitsfield. And that Mexican restaurant is amazing. That was the first time I even had heard of Heady Topper, which is a very popular IPA out there. But the food was spectacular. I think I packed out 2 meals from there, and it made the next 2 days so much more enjoyable. But yeah, if you're hiking the Long Trail, definitely stop in Waitsfield and go to the Mad Taco and get a Heady Topper, and you won't be upsetting the missus if you do that. My last one is, this is very much off the beaten path, but this is from the Oregon Coast Trail, and that is Cannon Beach, which is a beautiful coastal town in Oregon. Not the cheapest. It's definitely a touristy destination, but the views are worth the price of admission. We went to the Pelican Brewery, which I thought was phenomenal. And we found a nice little campground in town called Wrights. I think it's more of an RV park, but they had a few camp spots, and they just, like, the camping there was phenomenal. So Cannon Beach is my last recommendation off of the Oregon Coast Trail.
Yeehaw.
All right, got some sign-offs on that one. Stay out of Seaside. I remember hiking through Seaside. I didn't think it was that bad. Fair enough.
Okay, if you didn't hear it, stay out of Seaside.
Yeah. Seaside can suck it.
I'll put a caveat on my Sonora one. If you are wandering around and exploring, maybe don't go to Jamestown. Everything's closing, and there's a lot of scary-looking people. Okay, my last one, if we're going off the beaten path, is for a town that is close to a trail I've never done, which is the Mount Rainier National Park, the Wonderland Trail, which I may end up doing in July now with Jess. But Olympia, Washington is pretty freaking close to it. So if you're flying in and you need somewhere to stay while you're waiting for it, and you don't want to be in Seattle, but you want to go somewhere close, I had my truck, my 92 manual Ford pickup truck, break down outside of Olympia. The timing belt snapped on the highway, and we got towed in, and we were stuck there for 3 or 4 days. And it was cool. Like, it's a really, really witchy place. There were signs on the doors that would say closing early on full moon. There was a lot of tarot cards. There was a lot of crystals. It was a very, like, that sort of vibe. And I think when you're doing one of these long trails, it's kind of part of the experience to get a little weird in there. And that's just something that I haven't seen recreated to that level of commitment where you're closing stores early because there's a full moon in any other place. And so having been to Olympia and spent several days there against my will, it's close enough to the Wonderland Trail where if you have to stay somewhere and you're not super stoked on Seattle, give Olympia a try. It's very witchy. The thrifting is nice. And it's like it's fun to walk around and read the signs on buildings and see how witchy the place actually is.
Sweet. Mailbag.
Mailbag. Now I've got to find my show notes. There they are. Hi, guys. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Love the podcast. Your backpacking banter is hilarious and keeps me entertained during my long commutes all over my giant state of Texas for work so I can earn enough money to fund my long backpacking trips. When I heard the debate/discussion about when in the GI tract does poop start to smell like poop, I knew that I just had to respond. I'm an emergency veterinarian, and one of the most common things I see in my patients are that they have eaten something that they shouldn't, and now have an obstructed GI tract, also called a GI foreign body. Having surgically entered every segment of the GI tract to remove various offending objects over hundreds of procedures, there is definitely a distinct odor with each segment. This is also affected by how long it has been sitting there. For example, fresh or new stomach contents don't smell nearly as bad as contents that haven't been able to progress due to obstructions, and thus are just sitting there kind of rotting. But I digress. The true poop smell doesn't really start until the colon. It doesn't smell great before that, but it doesn't really smell like poop either. I would guess this has something to do with the bacterial populations of different parts of the GI tract, namely bugs like E. coli and Clostridium species that normally populate the colon, but not the other parts of the GI tract, or at least not as high numbers as there are different pH levels in different areas of the gut, where some bacteria cannot survive and some will thrive. Anyway, thanks for giving me an excuse to write in. Keep up the excellent work. Ashley, #Slipstream, PCT 23, 24, and beyond.
It's actually kind of surprising to me because I feel like the new poop is the stinkiest for me. Like if I eat Mexican food and it is evacuating my body quickly, that's not the one that I want to leave for my wife.
I've got two questions. One is Ashley lives in Texas. Are you here? Okay. Second
Yeehaw.
thing is, Second thing is that, like, I don't actually know after reading this where it starts to smell like poop. The colon, right?
I think she gave a pretty concise answer.
So what is it?
She said it, didn't she?
Yeah, it was so concise.
It sounds like it ferments, based on what she's saying. Different places it ferments, and
So you're not giving a location either.
I don't have her medical knowledge, so
No, me
I can't give a
Yeah, she
good
says,
answer.
But I digress. The true poop smell doesn't really start until the colon.
But is that the start of the colon? The end of the colon?
That's the sort of level of granularity that you were after there.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Ashley, for writing in. That's very insightful. I love when we ask these like wonky questions and we get someone with actual degrees and knowledge and experience who are like, I can break this down.
Two
for you.
dummies opining can result in
Yeah.
some education for the listeners. It's a fun thing for sure. 5-star review. It says, this is not a 5-star review, but I'm improvising with weird mailbags. Rachel, thank you, Rachel. Love you very much. This is an email. Subject, missed opportunity with Jabba and Chance. Clorox wipes. No one said Chance bleaches her asshole on trail. Big miss, guys. That's from Carl Hood.
A Chuck Norris sponsor.
So this is a callback to the time that Chance said that she cleaned her butt with Clorox wipes.
They were the only thing available in this small town in Washington. And it didn't burn. No.
Is this the same trail town that you called out in the Triple Crown?
No.
Okay.
That wasn't on the way. I don't know where I was. I was somewhere that like near the Cracker Barrel. That's not a Cracker Barrel. And you're just like already let down. And you're like, all right, no wet wipes either. These are wet and they're wipes. Yeah, I felt great. If anything, I felt extra clean. And if I got a butthole bleach in the process, I saved money.
Yeah.
So
It's just a bonus at that point.
yeah, you're welcome.
You do you, girl.
Garrett, you're welcome.
Also, hi to Chance's dad.
Sorry, Dad. Spend your money on a landscaper.
Yeah. But if you guys want to leave a podcast for us to read, go to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars.
Just not 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah. And screenshot us a review at podcast@thetrek.co, and we will send you a sticker. I meant to bring them for you guys, and I fucked up. That's my bad.
We have stickers. They just don't say Backpacker
That's true.
Radio.
Actually, we have special edition stickers. Thank
Yes,
you
we
to Jonathan and Josh for making that happen. Thank you to our title sponsor for today's show. That is Topo Athletic. Use our code TrekSpring15 for 15% off at topoathletic.com. Chauncey and I have been rocking. I'm not wearing them right now, but they're also not hiking shoes, so don't hold it against me. But Chauncey and I have been using these on trail over the last year now, and they're fucking amazing.
And they're my off-trail shoe of choice.
There you go. From an
Ooh,
actual
he's not
legend.
paid.
Yeah.
Debatable, but thank you.
Are you paid?
What's that, please?
Oh, I said he's not paid, and you said debatable. Thank you. And I said, are you paid?
No, I'm not. I buy them no discount code, and they're shoes I actually use of my own choice.
Hell yeah.
We'll get you a free pair.
I won't say no.
Yeah.
Shoes are expensive.
Shoes
Yeah,
are
that's why
expensive.
having a 15% discount code using Trek
And
Spring
also,
15 is great.
these shoes are more durable than other shoes that are low mid-drop with a foot-shaped toe box. Not going to name any brands out there, but we've reported from our gear reviewers to get upwards of 1,000 miles out of a single pair, which is going to save you a lot of money over the course of a thru hike. So yeah, Trek Spring 15. Thank you to Topo Athletic for making our podcast happen. Another shout out to Gossamer Gear. They're the ones making this Austin experience happening.
Woo!
I don't have your coupon code in front of me, but yeah. But we're giving away a lot of their awesome stuff through the raffle. I've been using Gossamer Gear from the jump. I love their stuff, and they're very reasonably priced, and they're good people, except for Jersey.
Yeah.
Thanks to your mom and dad for fixing the lamps.
He's funny.
He's making fun of the lamps here. How
He's
dare he?
funny.
How dare he? Captain Quack is going to snap back.
You got to read the Red Rachel note above the Chuck Norris sponsors because he's here.
Jason Snaylor has returned.
Right.
We got a
Jason
special
Snaylor's
call
in the
out.
building. Jason Snaylor, stand up.
I saw him. There he is.
Barely
Our guy.
know her.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
A super big thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Alex Kindle, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Brad and Bear from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Carl Hood. Do we have him here?
Wait, which one
Oh,
are
nice.
you? Who are you?
Brent
Stenberg.
We got a couple of
Oh my
Chuck
God.
Norris Award winners here. That Brent. Okay, I'm connecting
Okay,
the
if
dots
we
now.
say your name and you're here, can you make a big yeehaw so that we know? I want to meet all of you.
Christopher Marshburn, coach for Burgeon Outdoors, Derek Cook, Eric Casper,
The friendly ghost.
Eric Hoffman, Ethan Harwell Dunn, Jillian Daniels, Greg Alsop, Greg Knight. Wait, I missed something with Alsop. That was you.
Fables.
There you go. Greg Knight, Greg Martin, Greg McDaniel, Griffin Hay. Would you bring me?
No. Go back. Greg McDaniel.
Greg McDaniel.
Maybe bring that hard to his name.
Griffin Hay, would you bring me a beer? Helly Buckingham.
Palace.
Jason the Snail Snailer.
Barely know her.
Patrick C. Cialo, Rebecca Brave, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo.
and Tracy Trigger. Thank you to our guy and editor, Paulie, at Old Man Murph's Coffee Roasters, ommcr.com, to get some delicious beans. You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok at BackpackerPod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chance.
Our guests might not vlog, but I do. You can find them at youtube.com/Juliana Chauncey. I think. I think. I'm on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey, and you can get my book, Hiking from Home, a long distance hiking guide for family and friends, on Amazon.
Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. What's up, YouTube?
Hi, Internet.
Using a new camera. Oh,
That's
I
a
feel like the
different
original
camera than we
camera
started
is
with.
something bad happened. So the video changed midway.
That's
We'll get
a
a story from
different
Jess. But that's it for today's show. Thank you to everyone who came out
Yeah.
tonight. We're very appreciative.
And this place isn't closed for another 15 minutes, so we're going to do a giveaway, and then if you're still here, say hi.
By the way, the raffles are supposed to work where you guys give your money and then you get a raffle ticket. Gossamer Gear was kind enough that they just gave you the raffle tickets, and they're donating the money directly to the CDTC. So another round of applause for Gossamer Gear.
Woo! We'll do the raffle immediately after this, but if you want to say hi, please say hi. I love meeting you guys. It's really fun, and it really makes me feel nice, too. So definitely stick around and say hi if you want to. If you don't want to, like, no foul, you can just go. But say hi if you want to. It's really nice for us to get to meet you guys.
And another round of applause for the legend, PMags, Paul Magnati. Thank you so much for making this happen.
Thank
And
you. It's been a pleasure.
thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.
Yeehaw!
Okay, who wants to do a raffle? Yeah. Who's got some tickies that they want to see if they win things on? Yeah, I'll pull.
So, what's the first prize, Josh?
What's the first prize, Josh?
We'll do is a gift package from CDT.
Cool. This looks like a hammock and a buff. Is it a double nest? All right, a packet gourmet kit, a double nest Eno hammock, a couple meals from Green Belly, a buff, and a hat. A lot of stuff. Okay, who's this going to? 180. Does anyone's numbers not start with 180? Okay, forever, I'm not going to say that from now on. I'm only doing last three. 5, 4, 5. 180-545. B. Yay! Where are you going to put the stubs?
Yeah, I'll double
Put them down your shirt.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea.
No, you don't want to do that.
It'll fall at the bottom. It's like a button.
Oh, that's kind of funny though. We got to know what we're giving away next, maybe.
Yeah, the second's gonna be all the same stuff and oh, sorry, I'll do that. Oh, Josh.
Oh, Josh says no.
Another kit from
Packet gourmet kit.
Green Belly, a ultralight hiking umbrella, and a Gossamer Gear day pack.
Ooh, okay, so you're getting a packet gourmet little sandwich bag thing, some Green Belly, you're getting a hiking sunbrella, and you're getting a day pack from Gossamer Gear. Woohoo! Who's it gonna be? That's a twofer. We're gonna rip that in half. Okay. Last three numbers: 5, 9, 3. 593. Hey! Garrett, are you trying to take credit for that?
The next is the same thing.
The next one is the same thing,
Different color.
just a different color. Do you guys like the echo? Okay. 6, 0, 0. 600. 600. There you go. What?
Can we get Garrett to come up here to pull a couple of the tickets?
Ooh, Garrett, come here. They want you to pull some tickets. Everyone, can you please give a hearty yeehaw round of applause? Stand, throw the cowboy hats for my fiance. This guy, he's got to put up with me for the rest of his life, and I am not easy to deal with. I'm very high maintenance and demanding and sensitive. I cry a lot.
Hey.
That's him. That's my guy.
Well, now I can't win, right?
I mean, you have your cards. Did you give your cards to Cody?
I gave him to Cody.
You don't need to win, and you don't backpack.
That's true. But I might if I had the right gear from Gossamer Gear.
That's not hard.
I'm trained.
Okay, Garrett, pick a card. Wait, what are we getting?
So we've got another packet gourmet kit, Green Belly meals, and then the next two are big ones. It is our 2-person ultralight shelter along with our trekking poles.
Is that all in one?
All in one.
For those rainy nights.
$500 value.
I don't like to put a price on it.
Yeah, this is over $500. This is.
We've got 2 of these. So
Is it a 2-person or a 1-person? Ooh.
But it's two persons.
The Gossamer Gear 2-person tent.
You're about to pull
The 2.
I'm pulling 2 at once.
The trekking poles. Did I hear trekking poles?
Yeah, the trekking poles are included.
And Packet Gourmet and Green Belly, who are also both here. So yay to both of them. Thanks for coming. We've got our Green Belly squad over there, and we've got our Packet Gourmet squad in the back corner over there. So if you guys ever were like, I want to know who makes my food, go say hi after this. Okay.
So am I pulling 2 at once?
No, you're pulling one.
I'm getting conflicting information.
Just pull 2 at some point.
Okay. Well, I'll do this one first.
Yeah.
This is a good one here.
And this is your job.
All right, the last 3. 5, 2, 9.
Yeah.
He appreciated these.
I was worried Cody would win. I was like, this is going to be so rigged.
Oh yeah, he does already have a 2 at home, but.
pull it off to somebody else. I want the poles. Okay. feels weird to tell you no.
Yeah, you can email us and we'll just swap it out for something else. Yeah. If you want something.
We could get you like a one or something.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Pick
Two
a
more
card.
tickets.
Pick a card.
Extended
Kudos to this
job.
guy. That
Everyone
was
give this
very
kind
generous.
man a
Very
yeehaw.
generous. Yeehaw. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
I'm really going into the weeds on this one. Is this just for?
Save this for last.
That's for last. So this is for the same thing.
The same kit, and hopefully you want it all.
All right, 5, 9, 2.
I already won.
He's a winner. 2 more draws.
Very kind of you.
Yeah, that's a
Sir.
nice guy over there. Buy him a beer. Or me.
Garrett.
Okay, don't buy me a beer. This one, 5, 5, 0.
Let's go.
It's because he asked a question.
Yeah.
And because he's a Chuck Norris
Yeah,
level
Chuck
sponsor.
Norris.
We're gonna give it back. We've already got the trekking poles.
No one wants our raffles.
There's still a chance, Cody.
Jersey, the ads are working, buddy.
Yeah, the ads are working.
Okay, one more.
Oh, but there's 2 more, isn't there?
Well, you need the trekking poles to set up the tent.
We've got a trekking pole set and the tent.
Whoa.
Just like we drew it up. I know the number. Yeah, I was gonna say. No,
If
I'm
you
not.
win it, you're giving
I'm
it to
not.
someone
I'm not.
else.
I'll show the ticket if it happens. 5, 9, 4, which is my birthday, by the way.
Oh, it's
Hey! I'm trying to help you guys out. Yeah! She's like, no more numbers, Garrett. No more. Thanks, man. I love you. Mwah.
Is that it?
Well, that was our raffle.
Packet Gourmet has generously offered a discount code of 20% for anyone here that wants to take advantage of it. Their meals are awesome. Use code Backpacker20. Shout out to Green Belly. I don't know if they've got a code, but Chris is awesome and their food is very good. So check out Green Belly. Yeah.
And can we all give a big, warm, hearty round of applause to Captain Quacks for hosting us tonight? This is a great space. I feel like it fit us all perfectly. Thanks, guys. We had a nice time here.
That's it. Thank you guys so much. Very appreciative.
Let's have some beers.